One man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos. And this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, terrific Football Tuesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Tuesday morning, the world of sports is buzzing. And we're going to get to all the big stories, including Rock Chalk Upset KU. As last night at the Fog, Kansas knocking Arizona from the ranks of the unbeaten and doing so without star freshman Darren Peterson. I've got 4 big takeaways from you from last night's Kansas-Arizona game, which is a very impactful game in this year's college basketball season, including whether or not it is a quote-unquote good loss for Arizona. I can't wait to get into that next hour on the show. We will also be all over last night's brawl, the brouhaha. You absolutely love to see it. With the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons in the Queen City, with Detroit ending Charlotte's 9-game winning streak. And I'm going to tell everybody why last night and that rivalry, awesome for the NBA and awesome for the Eastern Conference, especially with what? A third of the league tanking? And you've got 2 teams fighting in a regular season game? What a novel concept. Games and results actually mattering. And speaking of college basketball, speaking of the NBA, we have a loaded slate in both coming up tonight. And my bets for the NBA and college basketball will close the show. And oh man, I've got a strong opinion for everybody. Big game in the Big Ten. Nebraska hosting Purdue. Oh, yeah. I've got a strong opinion on who will win that game tonight. Purdue at Nebraska. How about our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman? Tuesday after the Super Bowl, a week after 56 incredible guests from Radio Row, no rest for the weary. 3 tremendous guests on the program today. Danny Parkins, first things first, Fox Sports 1. Devin McCourty, Football Night in America on NBC, Super Bowl champion Devin McCourty, and our buddy Joe Fortenbaugh, sports betting analyst and host for our pals at ESPN, Parkins, McCourty, Fortenbaugh. How's that for a Tuesday after the Super Bowl? Keep the YouTube comments coming in. We're loving the interaction on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, THEKOSTOS. You can tweet me at the Kostos, same THEKOSTOS, Instagram as well. The show is on Twitter at You Better You Bet. And I want to know what turns you on. I actually don't want to know that. That's your private business, your private information. Shout out to Joe. Here's what I want to know, because I'm about to go through this right now. BetMGM has it up right now. Super Bowl 61, the odds board. Who's going to win next year's Super Bowl? I've already got a bunch of tweets at the Kostos into me, who people like to win next year's Super Bowl. If they're betting who's going to win next year's Super Bowl, let me know in the chats. Tweet us as well who will win Super Bowl 61. And that's where we begin the Tuesday morning edition of the show looking ahead. Because sadly, and it is sad, and I love college basketball and I love the NBA, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I love regular season hockey. I don't. But I love playoff hockey. I love the Masters. I love NFL offseason, the NFL draft. I'm going to be super into the World Cup. Nothing gets my juices flowing like the NFL season. And it's done. No more games to be played. And yes, it's sad. The Seattle Seahawks, world champions. Not an all-time team, as I told you yesterday. A lot of people, mostly Seahawks fans. Isn't that a coinky-dink, right? I get a lot of hate on that take that the Seahawks aren't an all-time team. And when I look at the people sending me the messages, it's like Joe Seahawks fan 69. Or, Sam Darnold fan 420. Legion of Boom 1. Wow, what a shock. You disagree with me. I appreciate the fandom from every single fan base in the world of sports. A worthy world champion, the Seattle Seahawks, just a couple days away from Seattle slamming the Patriots in Super Bowl 60 by the score of 29-13. Yesterday, it was 3 tremendous hours breaking down Super Bowl 60 on the show. I don't know if we were talking about it this morning, myself, Bill, and Tyler. Were there any stones left unturned from Super Bowl 60? Maybe not. I feel like we hit on basically everything from the game yesterday. Which means that for the first time this offseason, it is the offseason, that is sad, but for the first time this offseason, we can start thinking about next season in the National Football League. And like I said, our show sponsor, BetMGM, has all the odds up right now. Every single team is listed. Who's going to win Super Bowl 61? And if you're out there listening, out there watching, and thank you, I appreciate you. If you don't bet and have no interest in betting, that's all right. I feel like this can still be a valuable conversation for you as a sports fan, as a football fan, as we start to form our opinions now for next football season. To give you a gauge as to where the betting market, how it feels about all of these teams. And maybe you'll hear, wow, that team shouldn't be at the top of the board. This team's being a little disrespected. And here's the fun thing. You can be right. And we said it yesterday, and it's been talked about as a big story leading up to Super Bowl 60. No one thought the Seahawks and Patriots were getting to the Super Bowl, both at massive prices before the start of the season. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I like a team all the way down the board, you could be right. And that's what makes this so damn fun. And Herman Edwards said it on the show yesterday. The parity in the National Football League feels like it hit another level with this past season. So let's start collectively, together, the roadmap towards the 2026 NFL season, where I was looking at it yesterday, like teams that Seattle could potentially host in week number 1. I think they play the Chiefs in Seattle this year. That would be pretty cool. Obviously, you want Patrick Mahomes playing in that game. The Bears, a decent option. We got some good potential options for the Seahawks in week number 1, but that is the story. Also, is that going to be the first game of the year, or is it going to be Niners-Rams in week 0 of college football from Melbourne? We'll find out, obviously, in the coming months. See, we love this way too much. We're already talking about week 1, 2026. Let's get to some of these odds here. So my question for everybody before we begin, are you ready? Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching and listening worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to talk some ball. The 2 favorites at the top of the market, the Seattle Seahawks, plus 800, and the LA Rams at plus 900. And I think that is, if you needed more clarification, that a lot of people felt like the NFC Championship game was actually Super Bowl 60. I mean, there's your confirmation, right? The 2 teams at the top of the board were the 2 teams that played in the NFC Championship game, won 31-27 by the Seattle Seahawks. And the Rams have to be kicking themselves, and we talked about that in the week leading up to the Super Bowl, because the Rams would have been favored against New England. And I don't know if it would have been as easy for the Rams, but I think the Rams would have won the game and won the Super Bowl. And among outcomes that the Rams will rue from this past regular season. I mean, there's the Philly game, the Humpty Dumpty sized egg they laid Monday night at the end of the year in Atlanta against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. The Thursday Night Football loss in Seattle at the end of the year was brutal. And that's a game that they absolutely had, and they blew it, and they let it slip away. And as a result, they have to go to Seattle for the NFC Championship game. And I think what I'm going to say next is going to surprise some people, right, as it concerns next year in the NFL. And things can and will change, right, in between now and week 1. Like, we still have free agency, we still have the draft, we're going to have trades, we're going to have cuts, we're going to have all sorts of stuff, right? I liked the Rams better than the Seahawks all year. Now, the Eagles were my horse in the NFC. They obviously lost on Wild Card Weekend, but I preferred the Rams to the Seahawks all year. But if I'm going to tell the truth right now as to how I view these two teams heading into this coming season, right now, I like the Seahawks more. I think the Rams have got some issues that they have to deal with. Number one would be the secondary has to be way better. I think the defense as a whole needs to be better, but really it's the secondary. This secondary was absolutely lacking, got sliced and diced by Sam Darnold in the NFC Championship game, and the Rams were lucky to make it through the game in Chicago in the divisional round and the wild card round in Carolina against the Panthers. Matthew Stafford's birthday was this past Saturday. Turned 38 years old. Like, are we so certain that Matthew Stafford's rolling out of bed, playing at an MVP level again? It wouldn't surprise me if he did. But would it surprise you if he didn't? With his back kind of being a ticking time bomb. I'm not saying his career's over. He could win MVP again. Just, I think it's a fair topic of conversation. And the other thing for the Rams, and it really manifests itself in the divisional round game in Chicago against the Bears, they need way more speed on offense. Devontae Adams is a great red zone threat. Like, they got to get some more speed. Like, Puka Nacua is one of the best receivers in the league. Also, he needs to stop talking. Like, I liked Puka Nacua way more when he just played and didn't say anything and wasn't on camera ever. I think he just needs to slow his roll a little bit here. I get it. He's famous. He's about to be really, really rich. He's awesome. Puka needs to slow it down a little bit. Great player. Great player. Hall of Fame level player. Needs to slow it down a little bit. The Rams need more team speed. Like, they just do. So right now, if forced to choose between the Seahawks and the Rams, I would take the Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. So Seattle 8 and the Rams 9, the two teams at the top of the board. The next two teams, and I love this grouping. And if you've been watching to or listening to the show for any amount of time, you're going to know why I love it. And I'm going to tell you why. And I think it's great. It's Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, both at 12-1. I had been saying for years, not just heading into the 2025 NFL season, into the 2024 NFL season, hell, during the 2023 NFL season, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl with the pairing of John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to win a Super Bowl with the pairing of Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. The history of the league tells us that coach-quarterback pairings that have been together as long as they have, and remember, it's the same draft class, 2018, Allen and Lamar, and McDermott and Harbaugh had both been there prior to that, right? So we'd be entering year 9 of those relationships. In the history of the league, we've never seen coach-quarterback pairings be together that long, not get to a Super Bowl. Forget about that. Like, not even getting to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. And just to repeat, something I've said often over the course of the last month, at the end of the regular season, into Black Monday, and after Sean McDermott got fired after the divisional round choke job in Denver against the Broncos, I think McDermott and Harbaugh are great coaches. Harbaugh's now coaching my favorite team, the Giants. McDermott will be back next year. They needed to go. Absolutely needed to go. And now, with Jesse Minter as the head coach of the Ravens and Joe Brady as the coach of the Buffalo Bills, I need to remain really consistent. And the way I'm going to do that is to say, it's possible that the floor of both these teams has been lowered, right? Especially for Buffalo, that the floor has been lowered. And maybe Buffalo is more likely now to go 9-8 than they were with Sean McDermott. And maybe the Ravens are more likely to go 8-9. And I know they weren't great last year. I know that. Lamar missed time, right? That maybe they're more likely to miss the playoffs again than they would have been with John Harbaugh. It's possible, right? But if it's true that I think that Harbaugh and Lamar and McDermott and Allen were not winning Super Bowls because of the head coach, and because it just sometimes in life things reach an expiration date, then I also have to acknowledge that the ceiling has been raised for both these teams now with different head coaches. By all accounts, Jesse Minter's an absolute stud, kind of in the Mike Macdonald mold a little bit. Especially had been on the Ravens staff with McDonald, goes to the Chargers, stud for a couple of years, wins a national title at Michigan, now the head coach of Baltimore. And by all accounts, and I talked to some people about this off air last week in San Francisco as it concerns Joe Brady, that Sean McDermott wanted the training wheels on the Bills offense. And I think this is something that's kind of been reported, right? That Buffalo's conservative on offense because McDermott wanted them to play that way. And here's what's fun about sports, right? And life. More shall be revealed. We'll find out when the games start, if that's true. My sense is, and it's a guess, but it's an educated guess, is that you will see a more aggressive Buffalo offense this year, where it's not just like run, hey Josh, figure it out, like a backyard play on 3rd and long. I give both teams a great chance to win the Super Bowl next year. I didn't feel that way last year. If forced to choose between the two, I would lean towards Buffalo over Baltimore. There are questions about Lamar Jackson's, does he have that dog in him, D-A-W-G? Reports that the Ravens needed a coach to kind of coax the greatness out of Lamar. I'll tell you, I don't like that. I don't like hearing that. Also, like Lamar is a first ballot Hall of Famer if he keeps this up. I'm not saying he's bad, just that, it's not great when the team is floating out there to reporters that the new coach has got to get it out of the star quarterback. The star quarterback should be leaving it all out there with no prompting. That's not a concern with Josh Allen. The other thing that concerns me a little bit about Baltimore, and I'm nitpicking, and I acknowledge that, but I'm talking about 2 Super Bowl contenders. Baltimore hires 29-year-old Declan Doyle to be the offensive coordinator, who was with Ben Johnson last year in Chicago, right? And Ben Johnson's like the maestro of that offense, obviously. So now Doyle goes, and does he rule? We'll find out. Doyle rules. I don't know. Microscope going to be on him in a big way. He'll be the maestro of the offense in Baltimore. I'm not saying he can't be great. He can be. And look, I feel like I could coordinate the Ravens offense, or you could coordinate the Ravens offense and maybe find some success because Lamar Jackson's the quarterback. It's hard for the offense to be bad if you have an MVP at quarterback, right? But if forced to choose right now between the two, I lean towards the Buffalo Bills over the Baltimore Ravens. Can you tell we love the NFL on this show? We're 1 segment in and we've hit on 4 teams at the top of the odds board. We'll take a break. And on the other side, we will get to the 3 teams grouped at 14-1. The Packers, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. 3 teams grouped at 15-1. The Lions, the Chargers, and the AFC champion Patriots. And here's a teaser for everybody. The team that I like to win next year's Super Bowl has not yet been mentioned. We're just getting started here on a Tuesday. Danny Parkins will join us later this hour. First things first on Fox Sports 1, but more on the top of the odds board to win Super Bowl 61 on the other side. Nick Kostos, Westwood One Sports, You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM.
lost the football. It's recovered by the Patriots.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The great Mike Tirico with the call. That was Sunday Night Football of the wild card round. A miserable, miserable game from Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. We will get into the Chargers, the Lions, the AFC champion Patriots, the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Eagles this segment on the show. None of the teams that we have mentioned yet here on the Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet. My way too early pick to win Super Bowl 61. This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today by visiting progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. 3 teams on the odds board at 14-1. The Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Philadelphia Eagles. I want to start with the Eagles. I loved the Eagles all season this past year, and I felt like at some point the talent was going to be enough that the poor coaching and the poor offensive play calling wasn't going to matter. And I said, I don't care if A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts don't like each other. Like, they just won the Super Bowl last year. Who cares if they don't like each other? They are world champions. And it obviously turned out that I was very, very wrong. As they got, not thumped, but, kind of got it handed to them. I know that the final score was close. It should not have been close. The Eagles should have won easily in the wild card round against the San Francisco 49ers, a severely undermanned and injured, the walking wounded San Francisco 49ers. And after that game, Monday, after wild card weekend, I came on this show. And I said to all of you, and I still believe it. And I actually had our pal Joe Fortenbaugh, who'll come on later today on You Better You Bet. He's hosting Get Up this morning. They were talking about this topic today. It ain't going anywhere, people. The Eagles should trade A.J. Brown. And Howie Roseman can say whatever he wants. The amazing general manager of the Eagles, he could go to the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. That we're not in the business of trading good players. Well, what about being in the business of trading good players that sabotage your team's season? And don't put the requisite effort out there. And short arm and drop passes when it matters the most after whining, moaning, bitching, and complaining. And hear me now. A.J. Brown's awesome. He's one of the best receivers in the league. We talk about expiration dates. My opinion, the expiration date has been reached on his time in Philadelphia. That makes me nervous because he is a great player. Jeff Stoutland, who, a stout, NFL fans know, has been maybe the best offensive line coach of this century in the NFL, coaching up the OL in Philadelphia, just retired. That's not great. We'll see if Lane Johnson comes back. He's going to the Hall of Fame. You obviously like to have him back, right? Vic Fangio flirting with retirement feels like he's going to be back, but that kind of feels like a slightly tenuous at the moment. We feel like he's coming back, though. And I like the hire conceptually of Sean Mannion as the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. I do like it. Someone that played in the McVay-Shanahan tree and coached there. I do like it on paper. Let's see how it translates with all these volatile personalities and Nick Sirianni overseeing everything. So as of right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind, I'm out on the Eagles. For right now, at these prices, I'm out on the Philadelphia Eagles. I can change my mind as the months go on. At this moment, though, no interest in Philadelphia. The Chiefs are such an interesting team, right? Because it's really rare, and we are all big football fans, right? And you are really smart when it comes to football. I like to think I'm really smart when it comes to football. And maybe you bet. And I definitely bet. I love betting on sports. The show, I'm sponsored by BetMGM. I'm a BetMGM ambassador. It is a little crazy, right? Even if you don't bet, to think about Kansas City being 14-1 before the season starts to win the Super Bowl, given the dynastic run that they've been on. 3 Super Bowl championships, 5 AFC titles since 2019. And I think there are a variety of reasons why you and me together, You Better You Bet, Nick Kostos on a Tuesday morning on Westwood One Sports, why we could be pessimistic in the Kansas City Chiefs. The number one reason, obviously, will Travis Kelce come back or not? I'm kidding. Patrick Mahomes' ACL tear. When's he going to be able to be on the field? You know he's busting his ass to be on the field for week number 1. That remains to be seen. Who's Kansas City's quarterback going to be to start the year? The division's impossible, right? It's a great division with Denver, the Chargers. We'll see about the Raiders and Clint Kubiak. But, it's a really good division. And this conversation we're having right now is not who's going to win the AFC West or can you win 12 or 13 regular season games. This conversation is, can you win the Super Bowl? And one of the reasons why I've loved the Chiefs over the past however many years is because I didn't like Baltimore or Buffalo. And now both Baltimore and Buffalo have done the thing I've been calling for them to do. Fire the coach, get a new coach. So, I have to like Buffalo and Baltimore more. And if I like Buffalo and Baltimore more, I have to like Kansas City a little less. That's how math works. I think. I'm pretty sure that's how math works. I could be wrong, but I think so. So as of right now, I'll pass on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. At this moment, there's another team I like more. For the Green Bay Packers, this one's really easy. And I liked them bringing Matt LaFleur back and extending Matt LaFleur, and I like the hire of Jonathan Gannon, replacing former defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, now the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Just need more great players. That's it. I think it's probably a leap of faith to assume that a bunch of the very good players will become great. I think they probably need 1 or 2 blue chip players to push them over the line here. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to win a ton of regular season games. And if you told me Micah Parsons going to be healthy the whole season, hell yeah. Green Bay can get to the Super Bowl. I will pass on the Packers for now. And I think they're a playoff team next year. I will pass on them for now as far as the Super Bowl is concerned. I want to touch on one more team here. And then we'll save the rest for next hour on the show. And Danny Parkins will join us on the other side. Always love Danny's weekly visit with us here on You Better You Bet. That team is the highlight we played coming back from break, or more apt, more appropriately, the low light. And that's the Los Angeles Chargers at 15-1. I love, on paper, everything about this team. I love the hire of Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator. I think it's absolutely awesome that Mike McDaniel is calling the offense now for Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and LA. One of the best play callers and schemers and offensive minds in the NFL. How could that be a bad thing? They will be getting back, presumably, although I guess you never know with how the injury bug can bite that team. They're 2 all-pro tackles. Joe, Control-Alt-Delete, and Rashawn Slater, who was great in Saved by the Bell. 2 absolute monsters bookending the offensive line. The line will be way better, exponentially better, with those 2 guys healthy next year. And it hurts, right, that Jesse Minter is no longer calling the defense, but Chris O'Leary, who's the new defensive coordinator, is like a Minter disciple. They've got good players on that defense. We'll see how that goes. But Jim Harbaugh's an unbelievable coach, right? And you would assume that Jim Harbaugh's going to get things right. An omnipresent storyline this offseason and heading into next season as it concerns the Chargers. Fair or unfair, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think it's right to talk about it. Even if you don't think it's true, you have to acknowledge that it's a fair conversation. Justin Herbert, in the last 2 seasons, 24 and 25, has played his 2 worst games. This is not subjective. This is objective. Has played his 2 worst games in the playoffs. About a month ago against the Patriots, and last January against the Houston Texans. And until he gets over the hump and wins a playoff game, the conversation is going to be, does he shrink in the big moment? We're not going to know until they're there again. The good news is, I think they will be there again. But my question to everybody, would you pick them? Would you bet on them? Knowing this is how it's gone. Oh, man. I love this stuff. You know what else I love? When we're joined by our friend Danny Parkins. First things first on Fox Sports 1. He's coming up on the other side to talk Super Bowl 60. And I'll ask Danny his early pick for Super Bowl 61 next on Westwood One Sports.
Yeah, this is almost really a 1A, 1B for me. I mean, I love Wrigley Field with a fiery passion, but I've been to this venue, and it is iconic. I think it's still a little bit underrated on the national scene, and it is unlike any other sports arena in the country to see a hoops game, and that's Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, the home of the Purdue Boilermakers. Of course, Illinois just won there over the weekend, but you're right on top of the action. They see about 14,000 in there. It is rowdy, it is raucous, and it is downright loud. It is unlike any other basketball arena in the country. You know, some of the, the ones that are, they're all in the round, obviously, but like the United Center is rather cavernous. This is not, even though it's got 14,000 people in there. Again, you're right on top of everything. You can hear everything. It's just an amazing place. The energy is through the roof, and bar none, my opinion, Mackey Arena takes the cake here. Best venue in sports to see any type of game, and preferably, of course, hoops.
Seattle. He's hit as he drops back. The ball free. Picked up by Noosu. Running down the side. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown! Seattle has scored on another turnover.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The great Kevin Harlan with the call. Westwood One National Radio Sunday night as the Seahawks complete a Super Bowl 60 beatdown of the New England Patriots. Joining us now to talk about Super Bowl 60, and I got a couple takes to run by him, see what he thinks, is our good friend, Danny Parkins. First things first, Fox Sports 1, weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I thought the clips that I saw from yesterday's show were very funny of you teasing Kevin Wildes about the Patriots losing Super Bowl 60. So I think the audience knows this, big sports fans. The show is amazing on Fox Sports 1. Danny's amazing on the show. Check it out. Danny's on from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. My friend, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great. You did a great job as well at Radio Row. So good to have you back in New York, buddy. How are you doing?
Is it good to be back in New York? Where, dude, it was like the weather was great. And so you had to wear a jacket at night. It's like 65 degrees.
Oh, poor you.
When I landed in Newark Airport late Friday night, the pilot literally goes as we're beginning descent. Beginning our initial descent into Newark, light snow falling on the ground, and I wanted to slam my head into the wall. Like, really? It's snowing right now as I get back into New York.
Yeah, man.
Let's get your thoughts on the Super Bowl. So obviously Seattle wins. Would love overall opinions you've got on the game, but I know like me, you love history and kind of placing things historically. I got a lot of anger from football fans, and a lot of them are Seahawks fans. I said yesterday on the show, Danny, Seahawks are a worthy Super Bowl champion. Great team. I don't think this is even close to being an all-time historic team. So your thoughts as you put into perspective the 2025 Seahawks, and do you see them DVOA will tell you they're one of the best teams ever. I don't see it that way. What say Danny Parkins?
I don't see it that way either, but everybody can't be the best team ever, and the advanced metrics, we'll see how it ages, if they string off, a couple of Super Bowls in a row, or Sam Darnold starts playing at an MVP level, maybe retroactively we'll think about it this way. Here's what I would say. Them and the Rams were the two best teams this year, and because they got two of those games and beat them in the NFC Championship game, the best team won. And that should be enough. They were the best team this year. And what I will say is it was an all-time dominant Super Bowl performance. Because if you take out garbage time and just look at the first three quarters of that game, they held the Patriots to 78 total yards, 21 pass yards, 0 points, 5 sacks. That's the best Super Bowl ranking through three quarters ever. Across the board. So I do think it was a dominant defensive performance by Seattle in the Super Bowl. So I have no problem putting it in terms of all-time Super Bowl history in terms of domination. But over the course of them versus the 2000 Ravens, I even the 02 Bucks, I don't think their defense is of that caliber. But the best team this year won, and they were a worthy champion.
There's no question. That I agree with. I would even say I don't think this defense is as good as the Legion of Boom Seahawks. And I don't mean this. This is like the LeBron Jordan debate when people get really salty. I'm a Jordan guy, right? I don't think it's an insult to LeBron James to say he's the second best basketball player ever. Just like it's not an insult to the 25 Seahawks to say you might not be as good as the 13 Seahawks, an all-time legendary defense. Patriots. Go ahead. You want to say something on that?
I completely agree with you. And Seahawks fans shouldn't care about that either. You're the champions. You won.
And yet,
you get a parade.
And yet every fan base does. And I guess we can respect and appreciate that, right? All right, yeah. So you said something and it's impossible to disagree with, right? Can't argue with numbers. The Seahawks, it was an all-time dominant performance in the Super Bowl game itself against New England. See, this is where, and I mean this sincerely, and I said it yesterday, it doesn't take away from what Seattle did, and I don't even think it takes away from the season that New England had. But, if we're really telling the truth about this, Are the New England Patriots one of like the 5 worst teams that's ever like made a Super Bowl and played for a Super Bowl with the easy schedule and like rolling out the red carpet to get there, getting blitzed in the like good on them for getting there. They took advantage of the opportunity. I think they're kind of a historically weak conference champion. Hot take or just right?
Oh, listen, I like the framing of it, and I don't have a list. I mean, I'd have to think about it. Like the worst Super Bowl runner-up, because we've seen bigger blowouts, obviously, in the Super Bowl. But yeah, listen, when you play the easiest schedule this century, and then you get like literally,
it's not 2004, by the way. It's 2026. We have a quarter century of data here.
Yeah, when you literally play the easiest schedule this century, and then you get a backup quarterback in the AFC Championship game, and then you get blitzed in the Super Bowl. I think that has the makings of at least being in the discussion. But also for Patriots fans, like, I get why that would sting a little bit. But the flip side is, who cares? Like, this should not be the best Patriots team that Drake May plays on. He's 23 years old. You've got a bunch of cap space, and you should have your quarterback and your coach for a decade. Like, that's a pretty good spot to be in. And so for the historical ranking and the nerds among us, of which you and I are in that grouping, like, that's a fun debate. But like, Patriots fans, if you're going to like bet on a team for the next 5 years who has the brightest future for the next 5 years, like, the Patriots are at least in that conversation.
Do the playoffs and specifically the Super Bowl performance change how Danny Parkins views Drake May moving forward, and why?
Only like a very little bit. Like, it's impossible to ignore it. It's absolutely, like, he has yet to play a full good playoff game. So like, his next one will be his first. And so it is at least possible that he is one of those guys that we have to look at as like, does he not play well in the big spots? But then you could say Chargers, top 10 pass defense, Houston, best defense in the NFL, Seattle, top defense in the NFL, Denver, top pass rush in the NFL, snowstorm, all the factors in that game. We watch the game so we can apply context to it, but he hasn't. He also just set the record for most sacks in a single postseason and most fumbles in a single postseason. So like, it can't factor zero, but I said I would have voted him for MVP because of doing more with less, the advanced numbers, not having McVay, Puka, Devontae, a top 10 rushing team, a top 10 defense over the course of the regular season. Like, I actually thought his value case was stronger than Stafford's. So like, if you have a worthy MVP candidate at 23 years old who had a rough postseason but still ended up in the Super Bowl, like, again, like, okay, it's not that hard of a criticism.
You bet on this Tuesday. Danny Parkins, our guest. First things first on Fox Sports 1, on Twitter at Danny Parkins. Everyone on our show, by the way, loves the doorstep of destiny bit. That was big. That was big with us. It's really good stuff.
It's a great bit. Kevin Wildes is a television genius and a hell of a nice man, so that's why it was really, really fun to roast him yesterday.
It's good stuff, man. I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I can filibuster for a moment and because I don't know if you've thought about this yet. So I'm going to ask you right now, if I gave you $100 and I have all the odds in front of me, who you would bet way too early to win Super Bowl 61, because that's kind of like one of the main topics on the show today. I just talked about Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and I kind of think Herbert's kind of in the Drake May conversation, right? Where if you told me he was going to ball out in the playoffs, you'd absolutely consider them, but can you do that? So I have the odds here. I can give you the odds for a team if that's a team that stands out to you, but I give you $100 and I say, Danny, who do you want to bet to win Super Bowl 61? Who are you? And you can change your mind. It's early. Who are you taking right now and why?
Well, so I bet the Bears at 27-1 just so that I would have just so that I would have the ticket. I bet them at 27-1 immediately. I think it's kind of crazy that the Lions are favored to win the NFC North next year, and so that just like pushes their odds down further than I think it should be. And Green Bay's are better than them, so I just think that's a good number and a good ticket to have, and eventually that number will go up. And then the Chargers, again, I've been on them all year, so like no one's going to be surprised by it. But if they get Alton Slater back, which they will, those are arguably their second and third best players. And then you added one of the best offensive minds and play designers in the NFL. but he doesn't have to do like the culture football guy stuff. He just gets to be a genius in Mike McDaniel. So like you're going to make it easier for Justin Herbert to hit layups. You're going to protect Justin Herbert. And and they have a ton of cap space to plug holes, whether they want to do the interior of their offensive line, whether they want to get a little bit younger at some key spots on defense. Like they're in a great spot. So listen, the problem is that I've had a Chargers future probably 5 of the last 6 years. So like again, not the most creative take, and it sounds like maybe I agree with you, but those are 2 futures bets that I absolutely love.
Oh, I can't get there on the if you told me Herbert was going to be great in these spots, it's easy. They'll be there next year.
Why won't he be great? Why won't he be great? Because he hasn't been great before?
Well, here's what I would say, and he can be, right? I'm not saying he can't be, but I think this is not subjective, right? It's objective. He's played the 2 worst games in the past 2 seasons in the 2 biggest spots, in Houston and New England, where he's terrible in those games. Now, he's got all the talent in the world, and Peyton Manning couldn't win until he did. So obviously he can win. It's just going to be when we get to these spots, right? You'll put your money where your mouth is. It's easy to say, well, he can do it. It's another thing to say, would I bet on it? And I think right now the answer to that question for me is no. And I have a bunch of reasons why outside of that.
Yeah, and listen, I can't argue with, I'm not going to defend that Houston game, and I'm not going to defend the New England game, but he's also played 100 games. You know, like I do think that the sample of Justin Herbert is, he's great. He's great. He's good enough to win. He's good enough to get it done. I've seen him make big throws. I've seen him do it. You know, like I know that he can do it, and so I believe he eventually will. And again, similar thing to tough division that pushes down their odds because they don't see it as easy of a path to win the division, so you get longer odds. So yeah, I like both those bets. Which one did you say? What bet do you have already?
I haven't given it out yet. I said it a bunch last week. I'll say it here, and I'm going to do it next hour. I like the Niners.
Okay, betting on Kyle Shanahan is totally reasonable. It's never a bad bet. I'm not going to keep.
I sensed a tinge of sarcasm with that one there.
No. Betting on Kyle Shanahan is totally real. Like he said on the pregame show, he got his Super Bowl losses out of the way.
Has he? I mean, you could have said that. You could have said that after the first loss to the Chiefs, much less the second one after Atlanta in Super Bowl 51 against New England. I'm dying to ask you this question because I know you. You love football. I love football. Football season's over. And that doesn't mean we're done talking about football until September. There's going to be a ton of stuff that you guys do on Fox Sports that we do here on You Better You Bet. But outside of football, 30 seconds for the answer. What excites Danny Parkins the most coming up on the sports calendar, and why in 30 seconds?
Well, I mean, listen, March Madness is the best event of the year, and it seems like there's a lot of awesome teams at the top in college hoops, so that's always really fun. The Masters is my favorite weekend in sports. And then, listen, I'm a diehard NBA fan, man. I wrote a book on the NBA, and I think the James Harden trade is so fascinating. I loved that game last night for the Cavs against the Nuggets, and I think that they are a legitimate favorite. I think they are a deserving favorite in the Eastern Conference. So seeing how that experiment goes is fascinating as well. So I love all sports, man. I was watching the Waste Management Open instead of Super Bowl pregame.
Yeah, how about Hideki Matsuyama missing that shot on 18 and Chris Goddard winning the Waste Management? I had Siwoo Kim. No fun. Here's a spoiler for you. James Harden will play poorly in Game 7 in the second round against either the Pistons, the Knicks, or the Celtics, and the Cavs will lose. By the way, I think I made you some money last week because I told Mitch Rosen live on set that I wanted to continue this throughout the football offseason. So if you'd like to, here's some extra money in your pocket, my friends.
I'm available. What a guy.
Hour one done. Hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. Danny Parkins here on the show. More thoughts, early thoughts on Super Bowl 61 coming up next on Westwood One Sports.
I'm going to do it for two quarterbacks right now that we know did not have a ton of success with the team they were drafted by. And for me, I would say Baker Mayfield is probably number one that stands out. I don't think he seems as unlikely as Darnold, but it would still be a surprise if Baker Mayfield wins the Super Bowl next year. Guy that had, again, went to the playoffs with the Browns, but largely negative when you look at his tenure there with the team that drafted him. And then he went to Carolina. Then he goes to Tampa Bay, and he's been killing it. But, again, to get to a Super Bowl is a whole other conversation. I think Baker's the most likely candidate to do that, somebody that we already see in that arc right now. Somebody else that we're kind of closing, we're nearing that next stage. And I don't know if I really believe in him, but the talent is there, is Kyler Murray, who went to the playoffs with Arizona, looked like an MVP candidate the year that they started out 7-0, and he was balling. And now he's kind of at rock bottom right now for his career. I don't even know what team he's going to end up on next season. I don't think Arizona's keeping him. I don't think there's any chance they're keeping him. And so I got to see what team Kyler Murray ends up on. But we know as much of his shortcomings there are, not a big arm, short. He's got the speed. He's got the talent. We've seen it before. I don't know, man, 5 years from now, Kyler Murray at age like 31, 32 with a great team, great system. I could see it. If we could see Sam Darnold, like we said, I could see it. But for me, it would most likely be Baker Mayfield.
The biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening as you do every day to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Brought to you by BetMGM.
The terrific Football Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. I always enjoy these segments with Danny Parkins. Danny, good friend of mine, he obviously wildly talented, and I think we'll be able to get Danny to keep coming on throughout the football offseason. I had to do a little arm twisting of my friend Mitch Rosen, our boss here at Westwood One Sports, to make that happen, but love when Danny joins the show. The rest of the first hour was looking at the Super Bowl 61 odds board at BetMGM and the teams that I like, teams that I don't like at the top of the board. I have yet to give you my early Super Bowl pick. I said it with Danny in the final segment, but haven't given the rationale why. I will do that coming up in a couple moments. Also coming up later this hour, we will dive into a very busy night in basketball on Monday night last night. In college, with Kansas beating Arizona and knocking Arizona from the ranks of the unbeaten. We will get to that. And I got 4 takeaways from that game, like legitimately 4 big takeaways from Kansas beating Arizona. and we will talk about the very curious case of star Kansas freshman Darren Peterson. And we'll get into the Pistons-Hornets brawl, why I found it massively entertaining. Can't wait to discuss that. We will read a bunch of your tweets and YouTube comments later this hour. So your early pick for Super Bowl 61, youtube.com/@thekostos. Your thoughts on the Patriots losing Super Bowl 60. My opinion that the Seahawks are not an all-time team. Hell, I got a million tweets yesterday on the Bad Bunny halftime show we didn't get to. Send them in, youtube.com/@thekostos. Bill Zimmerman's going to read them coming up later this hour. And next hour, don't forget, 2 amazing guests to come. Devin McCourty, Football Night in America on NBC and Super Bowl champion, and ESPN host and sports betting analyst, my friend Joe Fortenbaugh. We'll get Joe's early Super Bowl 61 bet as well. All my bets for tonight will close the program. Man, we got some good games tonight in college basketball and a couple good ones in the NBA. Can't wait to break it down with all of you. Let's continue, though, on the National Football League and some of these odds to win Super Bowl 61. We touched on the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Packers in the second segment of the first hour, and I gave you my opinion on the LA Chargers. Now, Danny Parkins, who was just on the show with us, Fox Sports 1. Danny's a Justin Herbert guy. And I almost don't like the way I frame that because the implication is that he is and I'm not. I think Herbert's tremendous, right? And remember what people said about Peyton Manning before he actually won. Like, can Peyton Manning win the big game? As it turned out, he would win 2 and get to 3. So Peyton Manning or get to 4. He was awesome, Peyton Manning. But there was a time when people questioned, can he get over the hump? So Justin Herbert obviously can, but it needs to be said. His worst 2 games of the last 2 years, both in the wild card round. It will be a huge topic of conversation and a huge storyline next season in the NFL. The 2 teams buttressing the Chargers, good word, buttressing. And if I can be honest, the first 4 letters are my favorite. The Lions and the reigning AFC champion New England Patriots. The Patriots, just to get ahead of this, and you can be listening to this, you can be watching this, and you can really disagree with it. And you could be right. But this is not like what's going to happen when the games are played. What I'm about to say is not a prediction, it's a spoiler for how the Patriots are going to be looked at in the betting market, and I think the way a lot of analysts are going to talk about the Patriots heading into next season. So Danny's right, what he said to end hour 1. They had the easiest schedule literally of this century. And I'm on record saying I don't think that takes away from them getting to the Super Bowl. I don't you beat who's on your schedule. Like, they didn't choose the schedule. That's what it was. And credit to them for getting there. And I mean that. But they still had an easy schedule. And they had an insanely easy run through the AFC playoffs, right? A Chargers team that fired the coordinator. A Texans team where C.J. Stroud played one of the worst playoff games in the history of the NFL playoffs. And then Jarrett Stidham in the snow on Championship Sunday. And when they had to step up in class against the dominant team in the Seahawks, they got their asses handed to them on a silver platter. Like, these are all things that happened. So as we begin the 7th month trek now to week 1 of the 2026 NFL season, a lot of people are going to say, and again, you don't have to agree with this. You could think they're wrong, and you could be right about that. But people are going to say, what's going to happen now when the schedule's tougher? And you don't get the run, the easiest schedule in the last 25 years in the NFL. And if they make the playoffs, you don't get, the Chargers and C.J. Stroud and Jarrett Stidham. Like, that's not going to be what it is. And I think people are going to be anti-Patriot. And I don't think that means New England people think the Patriots are going to go 6-11. I don't think that. Like, the Dolphins and the Jets are both going to stink. Like, the Bills are going to be really good. The Patriots are probably going back to the playoffs. So I want to be clear on this. I'm not saying the Patriots are going to be bad, and I'm not saying that people think they're going to be bad. But the conversation we're having right now is to win the championship. My sense is that not a lot of people think that that's going to happen. And maybe I'm wrong about that, and the Patriots will be the chic team and the sexy pick to win the Super Bowl, to win Super Bowl 61 next year in Los Angeles. I can't imagine that that's going to be the opinion people are going to have. So New England, for me right now, at this price, not interested, but it's a long offseason. We'll see what happens. A brief thought on the Detroit Lions. Man, this actually, the Kylie Minogue song comes into my head. Can't Get You Out of My Head. You know the song? Can't Get You Out of My Head. Good song from back in the day. I can't get out of my head. La, 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 la. I can't get out of my head what Dan Campbell said after the Lions blew the NFC Championship game a couple years ago in San Francisco. When Dan Campbell strode up to the post-game podium after Detroit blew a 17-point halftime lead, I had Lions money line in the game. It was brutal. And he said something that to this day, to this second right now, I have chills right now thinking about it. That he said to his team in the locker room after they blew that game, we may never get here again. This may be the closest we get. 1 seed the next year and get blitzed in the divisional round by Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Missed the playoffs entirely this past year. Is it possible they get it together? Sure. Drew Petzing's calling the offense. I had some people on Radio Row tell me they love that hire. I was a little iffy on it. I don't know if I like the Lions right now. Maybe they could win 10, 11 games, even 12 games. We'll see. Super Bowl, not interested in the moment in Detroit. Which means you bet on this Tuesday, Westwood One Sports, Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. We have now discussed I do this bit with my daughter now. She loves Sesame Street, where I do the count voice when we're counting. And for any parents of young children, isn't it amazing, Susan? How just like one day, like your kid just like does the ABCs. You're like, how the hell do you know that? I guess like because she sees it all the time. My daughter did the ABCs yesterday, the full A to Z. I think she's a genius child. I can be wrong. I'm also biased. So my daughter counts to 10 now. And when I count, I do the count bit from Sesame Street. 1, 2, ha, ha. Anyway, listen, I've got the microphone. And if I have an opportunity to talk about my child, I'm going to take it. Sorry. So we have now talked about the Seahawks, the Rams, the Ravens, the Bills, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Lions, the Chargers, and the Patriots. 10 teams, ha, ha. My way too early pick to win the Super Bowl? Not among them. In Sesame Street, they do the letter of the day and the number of the day. I think the letter of the day is a catchier song than the number of the day. But for this exercise, we will do the number of the day. The number of the day today, we actually have two. The first number is 17. Because that is the BetMGM price for the team that I like at this moment right now to win Super Bowl 61. The other number of the day is 49. For your San Francisco 49ers. So this show made national news a number of times last week. But, Bill, what day was it? Was it Friday or Saturday? I think it might have been Friday when we were flying home. That our Kendrick Bourne interview last week, and just so people know, I think you could tell if you watched or listened to the interview. Kendrick Bourne is electric. And a very, very, very nice and charismatic guy. He was great. And we made national news. It got picked up everywhere. That Kendrick Bourne said with us, with me, Nick Kostos, and here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM, that he legitimately believes that the electrical, and if you haven't heard this before, I'm going to do my best to try and explain it, that he believes that the electrical substation is the reason why a lot of Niners players get hurt. So if you don't know what this is, I'm going to summarize it very briefly. There's an electrical substation by the Niners facility in Santa Clara. And Kendrick Bourne explained that part of the Niners field at the practice facility is green and part of it is brown. And there's a theory that, like, I don't know, I'm this is way above my pay grade. I just get paid to talk about sports. That there are electromagnetic waves or whatever that this could be the reason why year after year, like, isn't it crazy that this keeps happening, that the Niners every year are the walking wounded? Look, maybe it's just dumb luck. It's possible, right? I don't claim to know the answer. Maybe it's a substation. In the same way that if I were to tell you Justin Herbert's going to be nails next January, you would be way more apt to toss a couple bucks or to pick the LA Chargers, right, to win the Super Bowl, if I could tell you that. What if, and believe me, this is a hypothetical. We need that drop from Office Space, guys. I say it all the time, and it's really good. What if I told you that the Niners would avoid the injury bug? Which doesn't mean that everyone's going to be healthy every week. It's the NFL. Like, no one's healthy by the end of the year. But that, maybe, like, the 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers on defense, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, both aren't lost for the season. And the starting quarterback doesn't miss a bunch of time. And the potential Hall of Fame tight end doesn't tear his Achilles at the end of the year. Or Trent Williams isn't in and out of the lineup, future first-ballot Hall of Fame left tackle. Like, let's say these things don't happen. And they're healthy. 17-1. Now, I understand the Seahawks and the Rams are both tremendous, and they're in that you want to talk about a murderer's row division. The Seahawks and the Rams, like the 2 best teams from this past NFL season, it's not going to be easy, right, for Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. But I'll repeat what I said 8 days ago on the show, which was day 1 from Radio Row. I'm obsessed with the hire of Raheem Morris as the defensive coordinator. Now, I don't think Raheem Morris is a good head coach. I think that's kind of been, we saw it in Atlanta. I'm not trying to bag guy. He's a very nice guy. I've met him on numerous occasions. Very nice guy. Probably not a head coach. And people can disagree with that, and that's okay. The guy is a monster defensive coordinator. And I don't think he gets enough credit for the Rams Super Bowl 56 win and coordinating that defense, especially after Odell Beckham got hurt in the first half of Super Bowl 56 against the Bengals, and then the game plan in the second half, they knew they had to shut down Joe Burrow and company. I love that hire. Love it for Kyle Shanahan. I do think Brock Purdy, while lacking the physical assets that a Mahomes or like a Josh Allen, a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, like, he's not that type of quarterback. He's not. But he's good enough, man. Went to overtime with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes a few years ago in the Super Bowl. Like, is he as good as Mahomes? No. Can he win the Super Bowl? Like, Sam Darnold just won the Super Bowl. Of course he can win the Super Bowl. And the number one reason why I like the 49ers, and it's February 10th. I reserve the right to change my mind. We are way early here in the offseason. I'm just giving you my way too early thought, right, on San Francisco. I love the head coach. And at some point, he's going to break through. At some point, it's going to happen. At some point, Kyle Shanahan's going to be a Super Bowl champion. And we can go down the line, right? Whether it's Super Bowl 51, Shanahan is the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, and he got a ton of criticism for that loss, being too aggressive with the play calling. Look, bottom line, like, Dan Quinn's the head coach of the team. You can blame Kyle Shanahan if you want. Also, like, Devontae Freeman whiffs on a blitz protection, and Dante Hightower destroys Matt Ryan and sets the whole thing in motion. Kyle does deserve some blame. Falcons should have won that game, but look, they lost. It happens. 2019, Niners are up 20-10 in the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 54 against the Chiefs. Jimmy Garoppolo misses Emmanuel Sanders on a wide-open touchdown. Kansas City wins. NFC Championship game before the Rams won Super Bowl 56. Like, Matthew Stafford throws a ball up in the air, and Jaquiski Tartt's the only player around it, and if he picks the ball off, the Niners win, and they would have beaten the Bengals in the Super Bowl. He drops it. The Rams go on to win the game. Overtime against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Lose again to Mahomes. NFC Championship game on the road in Philadelphia. Brock Purdy tears his rotator cuff and needs Tommy John surgery in like the first couple plays of the game. You can think and like, I don't always love his game management, and I've been critical of his game management. Like, you can think he sucks and can think he'll never win the big one, and maybe you'll be right. My sense is, When you keep knocking, this is like Love Shack, right? Bang, bang, bang on the door, baby. You keep banging on that door, eventually you're getting in. He's too good a coach. I love Raheem Morris. If they stay healthy, I think we'll be looking back at this price, 17-1 for the Niners, and saying, man, remember that? Remember that. Tomorrow on the show, we'll get into more of the teams on the odds board, but wanted to draw the line there. The Niners, my way too early pick. I reserve the right to change my mind, but that's where I am at right now. Agree or disagree with me? YouTube.com/@thekostos. Let us know. You can tweet me at the Kostos, TheKostos. Coming up next here on Westwood One Sports. It's basketball season. We will get into Kansas's win last night against Arizona. 4 takeaways from that game. The Pistons brawl with the Charlotte Hornets. The Cavs win against the Denver Nuggets with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, and so much more. We are talking basketball coming up next here on a Tuesday, presented by BetMGM.
J.J. McCarthy was like number 35 in adjusted completion percentage. He was woeful. He was garbage. He was an absolute joke when he was on the field with arguably one of the elite and best wide receiver weapons in the game, and Justin Jefferson. You might say, well, it's because he was injured, missed valuable developmental time, yada, yada, yada. He's been injured now 2 straight seasons in some form or fashion. You know, he could just be a Jamarcus Russell type and eventually got to throw in the towel and say, yeah, he bombed. We failed. He never lived up to the hype. And the other question I always have, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Pat, in college, you know, we won a title with Michigan. He didn't throw a whole lot. He was a consummate game manager, whole lot of Blake Corum, whole lot of Michigan defense for that national title team. You wonder if Jim Harbaugh was disguising some of the issues of J.J. McCarthy as a result, not unleashing him, because he knew that if he did, he would run the risk, possible turnover, or, you know, a situation where they would just bog down drives repeatedly. So I want to get your thoughts on that, if there's any credence to that belief, and what are your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy overall? I think right now he could prove me wrong, but he is on a path to colossal bust.
grabs it, and that'll do it. Kansas has knocked off unbeaten Arizona. Number 1 goes down.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
We want everybody. And also, if you bet Kansas last night, that was pretty awesome. Shout out to our friend Alric Purcell in the YouTube chat. Alric, we appreciate you. Missed the first part of today's show? Man, go run a lap. How do you miss the show? Kidding. Am I? Thank you very much for listening, though. Got to give it up to Nick. Nailed it on Xavier. I'll say, Xavier's a huge dog last night against St. John's. I did not think when the game went to overtime that Xavier would not cover, but you always, and if you bet on sports, you know this is true. Overtime, where underdogs go to die, Xavier did not win the game, but they did cover the spread. Also, I think I've said the name of the school 4 times, and I said Xavier twice and Xavier twice. I'm a little unsure. So, Xavier did cover the spread. Shout out to them. And the whole crew had Kansas last night. Says he wishes he took the money line. Let me tell you something. You know what? I'll save my thoughts on the game and the betting market for that game in a moment. But if you are going to bet on college basketball, and I'm going to have some college basketball bets coming up at the end of the show, we want you, dear listener and dear viewer, to use today's Any Sport No Sweat token on your favorite sport. For me tonight, that'll be college hoops. If your bet is not a winner, how about this? You'll get your stake back in bonus bets. Bonus bets are great. Swing, or as we used to call them on the show, bonus bets. Shout out to our friend Ken Barkley. Swing, pass, or shoot. It's your choice. Enjoy action without the sweat. Is that a thing? It is. Download the BetMGM app today. And this segment here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Progressive is protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. That website again, progressivecommercial.com. Oh, man. Like, it's basketball season now. Like, football's done. NCAA tournament, like 5 weeks away. Conference championship week is almost here. We're going to the NBA All-Star break. We're going to come out of the All-Star break and start moving towards the playoffs. This is absolutely the best. We absolutely love it. And last night, as we got set for Big Monday, I'm super excited. Because I said to my wife, and I said to the crew here on You Better You Bet, and I'm going to take you behind the curtain a little bit into the life, the personal life of Nick Kostos, right? Because we used to be on from 4 to 7 last year, right? 4 to 7 Eastern in the afternoon. And my sleep pattern was entirely different. And we moved show times literally at the end of the calendar year 2025, at the end of football season, right? And my sleep pattern, I'm not complaining. I love my job. But the sleep pattern's been thrown out of whack. And I've been going to bed early as a result to try and get some sleep because I'm tired, man. I'm not used to the new schedule. So I say, last night to my wife, I say to our crew, I need to start staying up for these games at night. Like, I got to talk about them in the morning. It's not like I'm on at 4 in the afternoon. I could like DVR and watch in the morning. I can't do that now. I got to stay up and watch these games. And I'm really excited for Big Monday. And I'm excited for Kansas and Arizona. And just to say this, I have had my first post-football season argument with my wife as it concerns sports, of which there will be many. And just like all of those, I lost this one. What was the argument? Honey, I'd like to stay in bed and watch this game with the volume up and the sound on. To which she said, no. Yada, yada, yada. Your boy watched the second half downstairs in the basement. I'm pumped for this game, right? Kansas at home with Darren Peterson against undefeated Arizona. We had a bet on Kansas. We all loved Kansas. And like a couple minutes before tip-off, Darren Peterson's ruled out with flu-like symptoms. It's like, really? You bet plus 2.5 and the game gets bet out from there? Because would you have bet Kansas plus 2.5 with Darren Peterson, who's going number 1 overall in the NBA draft? Of course not. So we're sitting on this bet at a bad number, and somehow we end up winning the bet. But I am sure if you bet this game last night one way or another, you had some type of pre-game emotional swing as a result of Peterson being ruled out like moments before the game started. Not with a calf injury or a hammy or conditioning, flu-like symptoms. And Kansas still wins the game. Kansas still wins the game. Down basically the entire game. 25-9 run. Would not relinquish the lead from there. An absolutely incredible performance in the second half by Kansas. Now, Arizona did cut the lead to 1 at 77-76 in the final minute, but Kansas able to pull away in the closing moments to win 82-78. Arizona was undefeated going into the game. Now the last undefeated team in college basketball, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. This season's going to be awesome coming down the stretch. I got 4 takeaways for everybody off of last night's game. And you might think to yourself, well, like it's a regular season college basketball game and it was Monday, February 9th. How could you have this much to say about one game? And if you feel that way, it means A, you haven't been paying attention to college basketball this season, which is fine. I know everyone loves football. I totally get it. And B, I promise you, I should have done Buzz from Home Alone. And 2, when I get done with this, you will understand why this game needed to be explained the way that I'm going to explain it. Because I think it is going to matter moving forward as we get set for conference championships. The Big 12 is loaded and obviously set for the NCAA tournament. Takeaway numero uno, because you are going to hear a lot of people say this, right? And I'm ashamed to say that part of me actually thought it this morning. And then I thought about it a little more. And I actually got pissed. And I mostly got mad at me. I got mad at myself. Because I'm thinking in the wake of this, and this is a tried and true sports radio and sports content topic. Is it actually good that Arizona lost? Is this a good loss for Arizona? With the thought process being, okay, now like you're not undefeated anymore. You take the L. You can move forward without that pressure, right? Are they going to go undefeated? Everybody talking about it heading into conference play. Everybody talking about it potentially heading into the NCAA tournament. Is it good that Arizona lost? And if people want to make that claim, like, look, here's what's fun about this kind of these sports radio topics, right? Sports topics on TV, whatever. You can make an argument that it is. And if I wanted to, I could do that argument and make it make a lot of sense. The problem is, I'm firmly of the opinion, in life and in sports, there's no such thing as a good loss. Now, listen to what I'm about to say, please. That doesn't mean that you or me or Arizona, the Wildcats, that they can't use this loss as a springboard into bigger and better things. Or that me, and I've done this, I'll give myself credit, right? And I'm going to have more trials and tribulations in my life. We all do. But like in life, when you get knocked down and when you lose and when you fail, that is where true success comes from. Like, you can't show me a true success story and say that person has never failed. We've all failed. And from the lessons of failure and the wreckage of failure come great success. So I am not implying that, like, Arizona is not going to win the championship because they lost. They can easily take this loss and say, you know what? Here's what we did wrong. What they did wrong was miss a bunch of easy shots. Like, that's what went wrong. Like, that's the answer. And I bet Kansas. I'm happy they won, but just saying. And they can take the lessons and use it and springboard them towards the Final Four and a national title. So I think that's important to say, right? But there's no such thing as a good loss. It doesn't exist. Like, the point is to win. And when you don't win, you fail. There's a word for it. You lose. And losing's bad. Losing's not good. And again, that doesn't mean that we can't look back on it in 3 months and say, you know what? Maybe that loss was good. In retrospect. But to say it the day after, come on. You don't think they would have rather won and try to go undefeated? And if not, if they're happy they lost, I'll tell you what they're not going to do. Win the national championship. Because it means they don't have a championship mentality. Period. Miss me with the good loss BS. I don't want to hear it. You better you bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos here with you on Westwood One Sports. Takeaway numero dos. Kansas is Final Four good without Darren Peterson. Flory Badunga One of the great names. In fact, I think in my life I have heard the word Badunga used to describe some pretty nice things. Badunga. Tiller, who I believe is also a rapper and R&B singer. Council. All three players are nasty for Kansas. They are all really good. And Bill Self, I thought, coached a great game last night. I know Bill Self gets a lot of criticism. He also won 2 national titles in Lawrence. He is stud. So for Kansas to beat a loaded Arizona team with what? Like, let's be real, right? Like 4 NBA players in the starting lineup for Arizona? And Kansas beat them without the number 1 pick in the draft, Darren Peterson? They have a winning, they're 9-2 without Darren Peterson. Of course they can go to the Final Four without him. So that's takeaway number 2. Takeaway number 3. They can win the title with Darren Peterson. Kansas's upside with a healthy Darren Peterson when he actually decides to play, the upside is to win the national championship. Takeaway number 4. How can you count on him? Now, we talked about it a lot leading up to last night. Like, we don't ignore college basketball on the show. We talked about it in 2025 when we were in the old time slot, right? This has been going on with Peterson for months. And if you're like just like tuning in, that's okay. You're parachuting in for college basketball now. You need to know this because it's really important. Darren Peterson has and this is high praise, and I am not suggesting he will even sniff this player's career. You watch him, and he kind of looks like the young, late, great Kobe Bryant, like a young version of Kobe. I'm not saying that he's going to be that good at all, but he will evoke flashes of Kobe Bryant in your mind, the late, great Kobe Bryant, when you watch him. He misses tons of games, and it's all sorts of different ailments, leading a lot of people to speculate, is he load managing in college basketball? Is his concern, and I don't even mean this as a criticism, I might feel this way if I were him, is his concern being healthy to go to the NBA over winning a national championship at Kansas? He has had, in 24 games, 2 separate bouts. I haven't been sick since I had COVID in 2020. Darren Peterson has had 2 separate bouts with the flu, an ankle sprain, tightness in his hamstring, cramps in his hamstring, and cramps in his quad in 24 games. Guy's like the knight from Monty Python. All that's missing is Kurt Angle, winning the Olympic medal in 1996 in Atlanta on a broken freaking neck. When he plays, he's a monster. No one's saying otherwise. He's minus 400 to be the first overall pick in the NBA draft in a loaded freshman class. But you have people questioning if he cares. And to be fair, I'm not in his head. I don't know if he does or doesn't. Just that this is a real story. And could impact who wins the national championship. Consider what I said again. Kansas, without Darren Peterson last night, beat the number 1 team in the country. What happens when they have him? And is he going to be available? And is he going to play? Oh, baby. How great is this stuff? How great is sports? You bet on this Tuesday. I'll give you my bets for tonight in college basketball. I can't wait for Nebraska-Purdue. I have such a strong opinion on that game. I can't wait for it to be wrong and to lose my bet. It's going to be awesome. It's not going to be awesome, but it's kind of how I think bettors feel. One note last night from the NBA, and if we have time at the end of the show, we'll do a little bit more. Is it possible, this is a serious question, it's not a joke, is it possible that the best football game played in the last 48 hours was the Pistons and the Hornets last night in Charlotte? I think that was more physical and more competitive than Seahawks-Patriots in Super Bowl 60. So for people that don't know, and again, if you're parachuting in, I don't have 4 takeaways for this game. But this is why this game is important. So if you don't know, the Charlotte Hornets who lost last night, the Hornets had won 9 straight going into last night. And this young team with And you think of the Hornets, you think it's LaMelo Ball. It's not. It's Con Knippel and it's Brandon Miller, are like the two young players that are really leading this charge for Charlotte. They weren't just winning games; they are annihilating the competition. And again, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to know this. That's okay. Like, football season's over. Now we're going to tell you everything that's going on, right? And the Pistons are a half game behind the Oklahoma City Thunder for best record in the NBA. So last night you had team on 9-game winning streak hosting team with best record in NBA. Now the Pistons won the game and ended the 9-game winning streak for the Charlotte Hornets. And in the third quarter, and Kenny, do we have the sound here? I would like to play it here if we have it. From Eric Collins, who does an amazing job as the television voice of the Charlotte Hornets. Take a listen to the brouhaha that developed in the third quarter between Moussa Diabate and Jalen Duren of the Hornets and the Pistons, respectively.
And Duren is fouled, and oh my goodness. And Moussa's upset. Moussa's really upset. I have never seen Moussa Diabate like this. Oh my goodness, now Miles and Duren and Beef Stew. This is out of control. Oh wow. Beef Stew's on the bench. Isaiah Stewart's out of the, he'll be suspended for a while. He was on the bench and he came out just to draw a fight.
So my buddy Justin Termini, who I've known for like 20 years, he's one of the star hosts on Sirius XM NBA Radio. We'll get him on the show coming up in the near future. Texting with him this morning. Great guy. He tweeted something last night, and I agree with it 100%. By the way, everyone's talking about beef stew. This is a true story. My mother-in-law is making beef stew tonight. The big winner here is me, because her beef stew is delicious. So Termini tweeted last night that in a league where a third of the teams are tanking, like literally, like the Utah Jazz tried to lose last night and actually won. I think we'll play that sound maybe coming up later in the show from Jazz head coach Will Hardy. You know, Matt and Jeff's brother. In a league where a third of the NBA is actively trying to lose before the All-Star break, the fact that you have two teams in Charlotte and Detroit that give so much of a bleep that they're brawling in February is awesome. And look, it didn't spill into the crowd and no one got hurt, so all good. Now, Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, is a psychopath. He looked like, for younger fans will remember this, when Armando Benitez pitched for the Orioles back in the day. And he gave up a homer, I forget the game, maybe it was Bernie Williams homered off of him. And Tino Martinez came up to the plate. And Benitez drilled Tino Martinez between his shoulder blades. Graham Lloyd, the saucy Aussie, who is like this hulking reliever for those Yankee teams that won titles in the late 90s, came sprinting out of the bullpen towards Armando Benitez. That's what this reminded me of. If you've ever been in a bar fight, right, and someone comes out of nowhere with like a sucker punch or like smash a beer bottle over someone's head, not that I've been involved in that sort of thing. This was like Isaiah Stewart. He's on the bench. He has ice packs on his knees. You think that's going to stop Beef Stew from getting into it with players, with his reputation? Going at Miles Bridges, and look, I'm sure there's a segment of the audience that's like, yeah, kick Miles Bridges' ass. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, like Kurt Signetti, Google him. Isaiah Stewart might get suspended the rest of the season. This is like David Stern, if David Stern were still alive, the late great David Stern. Isaiah Stewart goes to Guantanamo Bay for this. Patrick Ewing got suspended for a do-or-die playoff game because he wandered off the bench at the end of a playoff game. Isaiah Stewart got into a fight at the end of a game, off the bench. We're going to see suspensions. We'll see about Diabate. Charles Lee got ejected. We'll see about Jalen Duren. There will be ejections and suspensions. Here's what I'm praying for. God, if you're listening, help! We need Pistons Hornets in the first round. We need this after last night. And I feel like the Eastern Conference way spicier with things like this happening. And Charlotte's been bad for so long, and watching that, like that stadium was alive last night. That arena was alive last night. How great is that? Detroit and Charlotte, two teams that have been downtrodden for a while, and I know the Pistons were good last year, but how great is that? Basketball. Sports. You gotta love it. Take a break. On the other side, we will read some of your tweets at You Better You Bet at the Kostos, some of your YouTube comments, play a little sound as well. The crew joins me, Nick Kostos, on the other side, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
but J.J. McCarthy was like number 35 in adjusted completion percentage. He was woeful. He was garbage. He was an absolute joke when he was on the field with arguably one of the elite and best wide receiver weapons in the game, and Justin Jefferson. You might say, well, it's because he was injured, missed valuable developmental time, yada, yada, yada. He's been injured now 2 straight seasons in some form or fashion. You know, he could just be a Jamarcus Russell type and eventually got to throw in the towel and say, yeah, he bombed. We failed. He never lived up to the hype. And the other question I always have, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Pat, in college, you know, we won a title with Michigan. He didn't throw a whole lot. He was a consummate game manager, whole lot of Blake Corum, whole lot of Michigan defense for that national title team. You wonder if Jim Harbaugh was disguising some of the issues of J.J. McCarthy as a result, not unleashing him, because he knew that if he did, he would run the risk, possible turnover, or, you know, a situation where they would just bog down drives repeatedly. So I want to get your thoughts on that, if there's any credence to that belief. And what are your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy overall? I think right now he could prove me wrong, but he is on a path to colossal bust.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
2 incredible guests will join us next hour here on the show. ESPN he hosted Get Up this morning. How about that? Joe Fortenbaugh goes from Get Up and now slumming it with Nick Kostos. My buddy Joe Fortenbaugh coming up next hour on the show. Love Joe. We'll talk some early Super Bowl 61 odds and more with my buddy Joe Fortenbaugh next hour. And Devin McCourty, Football Night in America on NBC. You just watched him on the Super Bowl coverage. Super Bowl champion of the New England Patriots. Devin McCourty. Bills are slumming it with Nick Kostos. That will actually be the next. If we ever change the name of this show, it'll be Slumming It with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports. So McCourty next hour also. You know, Tyler brings up. We were just talking as we do, talking college basketball during the break. You know, when did John Fanta come on? Like 2 weeks ago? The week before we went to San Francisco, right? John Fanta came on the show from NBC, college basketball stud analyst, right? And host. And picked Houston to win it all. I was like, really? Houston? And their performance against BYU this weekend, Kingston Flemings is unbelievably good. There are so many good young players in college hoops this season. And if he can be that good, he absolutely raises the ceiling of Houston to win a national championship. As of right now, I don't know who I like to win the national championship. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? A couple more minutes this hour. We need to pay off a bunch of the feedback we've gotten on social media, interaction on social media, both from yesterday and today's show. And to do that, we welcome in our executive producer, the very handsome Bill Zimmerman. William, what do we got here from the real ones on social media?
So we've got so much content from the real ones, had to really pare it down here. So let's start here, Nick. Let's get with a couple of the questions you had yesterday. Let's start with the grades for the Bad Bunny halftime show. Let's start with CJ, who says was actually dope. I guess the NFL target audience is full of people who never went to clubs, dance with women to bangers this guy makes. I don't know Spanish, but the music is good. I hate country music and Taylor Swift. I love football. I can deal. You can deal. Here's one from Frankie. Not a big fan.
To be fair, by the way, to be fair, Bill, like I did deal, but I was like, you can deal. Like I didn't say it was bad. I said it was okay.
I think he's talking about.
I don't think
he's not
it
talking
sucks.
to you. He's talking to the critics. It's the royal we. Frankie, like Simon Cowell would say, performance was like you were on a cruise ship or a good Latin nightclub. LOL. He's not a fan. But how about this one from DFJ? I don't understand Spanish, so tough to really get into it. Plus, not my type of music. Absolutely genius on the NFL part to recruit more fan base. The strongest money train in the world keeps pumping. Business grade A+, performance grade NA for me. So there you go from DFJ. Let's get to a couple more topics here, Nick. We have one here from Go Quick 007 on Drake May and if that Super Bowl performance impacts you. He's good with potential to be great. A lot of great QBs. First playoff runs were not all that impressive. We've got another one here from Chiefs fan on Drake May. I think he has potential, but I'm not sure how after that postseason anyone can come away with anything other than his success. This past season was predominantly schedule-based. Vrabel seems to be protecting him early, and when he had to let it rip, he was a turnover machine. And let me get in a couple more here on your question today about next year's Super Bowl and who are you picking? Derek Wagner at price. I don't know how you can't pick the Chiefs at a top 10 pick to a team, which could potentially be Ruben Bain. Nagy removed from the offensive room is a net positive. Yeah, I take KC. We'll do one more for Matthew Grill. The Eagles, great defense, plus Howie Roseman is going to beef up that offense. So a sample from a ton of tweets from the real ones.
Thank you to everyone who chimed in at the Kostos at You Better You Bet. Thank you to Bill Zimmerman. Our buddy, I want to give a shout out to Derek Wagner, who's been listening and watching the show forever. I think he's a really sharp bettor. I thought that was interesting that he likes the Chiefs. And at price, and I said this in the first hour, like you can definitely talk yourself into that. But if I like the Bills and the Ravens way more now with the new coaches, then I have to like Kansas City less. Matthew Grill is a big fan of the show. He likes the Eagles. I can't get there on Philadelphia. I'm actually surprised. I thought more people would like that. I guess, Seahawks just won. The Rams were in the title game. I guess I understand why no one likes the Niners. Maybe I'm just like letting my affection for Kyle Shanahan bleed into my thoughts on San Francisco. Great job by Bill. Appreciate the real ones very much. We got a banger of a final hour coming up. I can't wait. We'll bring Tyler and Kenny on to do this as well. We will roll through an awesome card tonight in college basketball. We'll talk the NBA as well. Give you all our bets for tonight. Joe Fortenbaugh will join us from ESPN. Devin McCourty will kick it off from Football Night in America. I wanted to talk, man, there's just, how awesome is it that there's so much in sports that we don't get to everything on a 3-hour show? Do you love it? I do. Devin McCourty joins us on the other side. Power Hour, Final Hour, presented by BetMGM.
but J.J. McCarthy was like number 35 in adjusted completion percentage. He was woeful. He was garbage. He was an absolute joke when he was on the field with arguably one of the elite and best wide receiver weapons in the game, and Justin Jefferson. You might say, well, it's because he was injured, missed valuable developmental time, yada, yada, yada. He's been injured now 2 straight seasons in some form or fashion. You know, he could just be a Jamarcus Russell type and eventually got to throw in the towel and say, yeah, he bombed. We failed. He never lived up to the hype. And the other question I always have, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Pat, in college, you know, we won a title with Michigan. He didn't throw a whole lot. He was a consummate game manager, whole lot of Blake Corum, whole lot of Michigan defense for that national title team. You wonder if Jim Harbaugh was disguising some of the issues of J.J. McCarthy as a result, not unleashing him, because he knew that if he did, he would run the risk, possible turnover, or, you know, a situation where they would just bog down drives repeatedly. So I want to get your thoughts on that, if there's any credence to that belief. And what are your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy overall? I think right now he could prove me wrong, but he is on a path to colossal bust.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. Friend of the show and friend of yours truly, Joe Fortenbaugh of ESPN, will stop by in 20 minutes. We look forward to that conversation, and we will roll through tonight's card in college hoops and the NBA to wrap up the show about 45 minutes from now. But joining us right now, and it was awesome to have his brother on the show a number of times throughout the pro football playoffs, doing games for our friends at Westwood One Sports. Devin McCourty joining us now. Jason was on with us throughout the NFL playoffs. Devin did an amazing job all season long and on Super Bowl Sunday, NBC's Football Night in America, multi-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, on Twitter at his name, at Devin McCourty. Devin, it's Nick Kostos here. You better you bet on Westwood One Sports. Sincerely appreciate the time, my man. How's it going?
I'm doing well, Nick. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm guessing that you have to feel pretty good now at the conclusion of another football season, a job well done. Take us through right now, like the life of Devin McCourty, now with football season over. What happens now for you? You get to take some time off? Are you like watching film on draft prospects? Like, what's Devin McCourty's life like now with football season in the rearview mirror?
I'm currently folding laundry. I got back yesterday late last night, and my kids, their laundry was everywhere. My youngest, who's only 4, he forgot his sheets that needed to be washed to go back to school on Monday. So I'm deep in, and eventually I'll turn on some of the defensive backs just to look at through the draft. I don't have a ton of coverage to do on the draft, but I like to watch some of the defensive backs that come out, and you still got to keep track of some of the NFL's future stars, and then other than that, I'll be like full speed ahead coaching my kids and doing different things like that in baseball and spring basketball.
And you've done an awesome job calling games on Westwood One Sports. Your brother's done an awesome job calling games as well on Westwood One Sports. What was Sunday like for you? It's pretty cool to say part of the Super Bowl broadcast. You get to say that. What was the day like for you this past Sunday?
Yeah, man, it was really cool. Like you just said, to have the opportunity to play in 5 Super Bowls as a player and then only 3 years removed and get an opportunity to be like fully on the NFL coverage of the Super Bowl. We started the day at, 7 a.m. pickup to head to the stadium and, quick meeting. And then just going back through the notes, it was a 5.5-hour show. My first time ever doing anything like that. So just making sure I was on top of everything. And then our day started 10 a.m. on the 50-yard line on the NFL field, Levi Stadium, Super Bowl 60. Just amazing. Myself, Jason Garrett, and Maria opening shot, standing next to Lombardi Trophy, and then making my way into the Patriots locker room where we did our second hit, which for me was really crazy to walk in the locker room. And, I was talking to the equipment manager because right next to Craig Woodson, who's number 31, was an open spot in the locker room. And I started yelling to him to bring me my 32 jersey and put my name tag up because I was going to go jump on the field. So, again, I know a good amount of those people still involved. And for them to be at the Super Bowl and me to be be a part of the broadcast was really a special time.
I didn't think to ask this question, but when you were talking about that, maybe getting the 32 and suiting up in this game, the Seahawks blew the Patriots out, and we'll talk about the New England side of it, right, and what they do going forward. I do think, Devin, and I'm curious if you agree, I know that it was lopsided and Seattle dominated the game. It does feel like, though, thinking about it in the aftermath, like there's a version of that game that plays out where the Patriots, I don't know if they win, but they can definitely keep the game way closer. Sam Darnold on the first play of the game almost threw a pick six. And there were a couple instances where I'll say this, I can't believe he didn't throw an interception in the game. I'm not saying he played poorly, but it felt like New England had numerous chances to pick him off, maybe game-changing plays if they get their hands on it. So kind of like 2-part question. 1, do you agree with that? 2, if you had played in the game, how many interceptions do you think you might have had of Sam Darnold?
It's funny because we talked about this in our little podcast kind of show after in the first quarter. I kind of jumped out of my seat a few times thinking, man, the defensive back got a great break. And, a lot of times when you kind of rewatch that or the replay comes on, you realize that the quarterback saw the defensive back and he made a pretty damn good throw. And Darnold, I think he put it a little bit of harm's way a few times, but he was on the money. Like the throw, as much as you want to say, hey, he's one step off or he's a little late. That's a good throw by the quarterback. And the only one that really Gonzalez had by the goal line to me was the one that you look back and you say, man, he should have had that. That's one you got to have. But, again, if I was out there, I don't know if I get any. I thought Darnold was, it wasn't perfect by any means. I think exactly what you said is true. But I do think he played the way you need to play in a game and understand how to take care of the ball, how to do the right things. And I think the shocker for me, and I know we'll get into it more, but, I thought New England's advantage in the game was that they could outcoach Seattle. Not that I think Mike McDonald's phenomenal. I just thought New England's experience and the different things that they would maybe be able to do from a coaching standpoint would give the players that chance to stick in the game. And I thought Seattle, they outcoached them and outplayed them, and that's why the game was so lopsided.
What disappointed you, Devin, specifically from Mike Vrabel, the head coach, and Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots?
I thought the plan of New England, again, I wasn't in the meeting, so I'm not 100% sure, but the way it felt was, hey,
you played in Super Bowls. I think you've got the credibility to say something like this and have people believe. Like, I'm just saying, right? It's not me saying this. This is you saying it. So I think people should listen to what Devin McCourty's about to say. Go on.
Yeah, it just felt like, and I've been there before where, yes, offensively and defensively, we got to go execute, but going into a game, there's a plan as a team of how we win. And it felt like New England's thought was how we win is be safe on offense, take what the defense gives us. Let's not force anything. Let's not, be overly aggressive because we're going to get the turnovers and make the plays on defense that will be the changer in the game. And I thought it was too reliant on, hey, Sam Darnold's going to throw interceptions. He's going to make these mistakes. And then when they didn't get it, it just made such a spotlight on how poorly they played offensively. Me and Tony Dungy were sitting there after the game, and I was like, hey, man, before, and I'm talking about before kind of the garbage time stuff for New England and the one drive, it was like, man, I don't know if they've crossed the 50-yard line yet. Like, this is incredible. Like, it's one first down or no first downs, and that was every single drive. And I just thought they probably needed to be more aggressive. I've been there with Josh McDaniels. There's usually a lot of misdirection. There's these misdirection screens that he made famous throwing back across the field to James White. There's usually a trick play or two trick plays in these big games, especially against really good defenses. Like, we didn't see any of that. And I think that went towards how they viewed how they needed to win the game. And I think in hindsight, they'll probably look back and say, man, we probably needed some of those plays to try to help combat how good Seattle's defense was and how good Seattle was overall as a team. And they didn't get that. They needed their edge to be, we're gonna help them as coaches come up with some plays or some scheme that will really benefit them. And, throughout the whole game, you just didn't see it. And, how poorly they played offensively really took away from a solid defensive performance by their defense. It just didn't matter enough because, kicking field goals was plenty against the New England Patriots Sunday.
So, Devin, I think that takes me to this question then, right? Because let's just say that the Patriots employed more of a game plan like what you're talking about, and McDaniels does more of the stuff that you're talking about, and they're not waiting for Sam Darnold to throw them the ball, right? So let's say that they do have this different game plan. Do you think that would have been enough to maybe get them over the hump, like not just to keep the game close? Do you think they could have, because it did look like there was a huge difference between the two teams. You played and won at the highest level with that team, played with Josh McDaniels when he's the offensive coordinator. If the game plan's a little different, could the Patriots have won, not kept it close, could they have won Super Bowl 60 in your estimation?
Yeah, and that sounds crazy, I think, on Tuesday after the game because we just watched them get dismantled on Sunday. But I try to tell people, listen, the Seattle Seahawks is a better football team than New England Patriots. The thing about football is, though, you only have to be better than somebody for one night. In 2017, there's no doubt in my mind, I thought us against the Philadelphia Eagles, I thought we were a better football team. Philly was playing with a backup quarterback and Nick Foles. I thought they had a great game plan. I thought Nick Foles played awesome in the game. They beat us. They came out and beat us in that game by keeping the game close and making it come down to situational football. And then it turns into who makes one or two plays and who doesn't. And I think that's the game New England needed to make against Seattle. It needed to be, hey, either we're going to make a play or they're going to make a play, but we're going to put ourselves in that kind of situation. And I think once you get in that situation, now the game is a lot closer. Now we actually have a chance to win. And New England's been just as good as anybody in situational football. They just didn't have a chance to do any of that in their game Sunday.
You better you bet on this Tuesday, Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos being joined by Super Bowl champion Devin McCourty, who is incredible on Football Night in America all season long and on Super Bowl Sunday for NBC. Does great work with our friends at Westwood One Sports. His brother Jason has been amazing on the show as well. Just a couple more questions for you, Devin, and very much appreciate the time the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. Does his performance in the big game change how Devin McCourty views Drake May moving forward, and why?
No, not at all for me. I think Drake May is a second-year quarterback who played his butt off this year. I think New England's a team who took advantage of being 4-13 the last 2 years and having a schedule that fit to have a run like this, and they had to run, and he was MVP runner-up. Like, I think that was awesome. I don't think at any time, for me personally, I didn't walk away saying, hey, man, Drake May is the number one quarterback in the NFL. He's the guy I'm taking first. So I think there's still things he has to continue to work on and get better. And I think when you're 23 years old and you go play in your first ever Super Bowl, it was a lot. And he had some pretty bad moments. I thought, again, coaching, playing, the team didn't help him out much. And that's the world you live in when you're the quarterback. But for me, I still see sky's the limit for him. He can continue to get better. It was his first year with a new offensive coordinator to play the way that he played all year. I think speaks volumes of his growth. He just has to keep doing it. And, yeah, for me, it didn't take away anything of what he can be and what he was able to accomplish this year.
One question, Devin, on the Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. I have gotten a lot of negativity and a lot of hate, mostly from Seahawks fans. And to be fair, I would feel this way if I were a Seahawks fan too, I guess. I said yesterday on the show, it's my opinion, right? I don't think the 2025 Seahawks are an all-time team, like a great team and a worthy champion. I don't know if they're one of the best teams ever, like DVOA, like this advanced statistic says they're the third best team of all time. I don't know if I see that. Like a great defense, are they up there with like some of your guys' great defenses or the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears? Like I would say no. I'm fascinated with you as a Super Bowl champion. What do you think when you watch the Seahawks both at Super Bowl 60 throughout the season? Do you think the 2025 Seahawks are an all-time team? Your opinion on Seattle upon winning a Super Bowl championship?
No, I think we got to be careful. And I get it. Like, in 2014, when we beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, that was one of the all-time great defenses in the Legion of Boom. Like they were phenomenal. After the game, we're yelling and screaming, "Who's got the good defense?" Like you're hyped up, you're ready to go. And I think that is the environment we live in, right? Whether you're a player, whether you're a fan, when you go and you're the Super Bowl champs, you want to talk your trash, you want to tell everybody you're the best. But I think we got to just be careful. Like the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, like those defenses were, I mean, unbelievable. Coach Dungy had me. He's like, hey, slow down. The 74 Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers, like all of those teams, I think, were just historic. We still talk about them to this day. I'm more careful with just saying, hey, that defense is one of the best defenses we've seen in the last few years and how to kind of go win a game and play.
Can I ask a more simple question then? How about this? And I would like for you to choose one. You don't have to, but I would love for it. If you had to choose, Devin, you played against the Legion of Boom. Obviously, you're a defensive player, but you guys played against the Legion of Boom. You beat them in Super Bowl 49. The Legion of Boom Seahawks defense or what they're now calling the dark side defense that beat the Patriots on Sunday? Which defense? They're both awesome, right? But if you had to pick one, Legion of Boom or dark side, who do you like more?
You picked the Legion of Boom right now, but it's more years to look at. Like I'm not only looking at 14. You're looking at the way they played in 2013 Super Bowl, the next year. Like that, we're looking at a total of 3 or 4 years for that defense. I think we have to evaluate this question in 3 or 4 years if this dark side defense can stay together. So for me, yeah, it's the Legion of Boom because we watched that whole era of what they were on defense, which we haven't seen fully yet from the Seahawks and the dark side.
Final question, Devin, and I think like our listeners and viewers know this because I said it on the show yesterday, and I was tweeting it throughout the game and in the pregame. I thought NBC absolutely crushed the coverage. Like, it comes across like everyone's a huge football fan, and I think that's absolutely the best. And I thought one of the highlights of the broadcast was Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison going at it about Bill Belichick being in the Hall of Fame, and Dungy refusing to disclose his vote. And just curious, as someone that played for Bill, and Bill didn't get into the Hall of Fame, obviously, and I think I can tell that you have a relationship with Tony, so I'm not asking you to slam Tony Dungy. That's not what this is. But what did you make of that, and kind of how does Devin McCourty feel about that whole situation with Dungy and Harrison and your old head coach Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I thought Rodney nailed it. But the process, all of that stuff, I get the process isn't right the way they do it. But even in the current process, it still doesn't change that Bill Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, like, I thought Rodney hit it right on the head. Like, process, all of that, y'all got it wrong. Like, this wasn't right. The Hall of Fame doesn't make sense if you don't add a guy that's a 6-time Super Bowl champion who's done so many great things, second all-time in wins. Like, that guy needs to, as soon as he's eligible to be in the Hall of Fame, he has to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think, again, the biggest thing that this is going to turn into is these guys who now are going in the Hall of Fame and are going to be inducted, it's all going to be tainted by all of the coverage. It's going to be about Bill Belichick not being there because it was such a huge mistake.
And like Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald are obvious first ballot Hall of Famers, even like Roger Craig, Luke Kuechly. Even like Vinatieri, you could argue, should a kicker go in or not? If there's a kicker that goes in, it needs to be former Patriot Adam Vinatieri. Yeah, like it is going to overshadow it a little bit, and you're 100% right about that it's not right to those guys. I just want to tell you this, man, in closing. I'm so happy for you and your brother. Like the success that you guys had, obviously playing. You guys are both awesome broadcasters, and in the time that we've spent together, me and you and me and your brother, just like great guys, and it's awesome watching like really great people do great things. Very happy for your success. Appreciate it. Good luck with the laundry. I have to do some myself after the show today, and hopefully we'll catch up down the line.
Man, good catching up with you, Nick. Hopefully next year I see you at the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. Devin McCourty joining us here on You Better You Bet. So just so people, it's like a little inside peek, like behind the curtain on Radio Row. So this is generally how it works. Because last year, like we had Devin on set, like he's part of the Westwood One coverage. Like I went to like an event, not like with him, but we were at the same event, the Friday night of the Super Bowl last year. When a network has the Super Bowl, right? So next year, ESPN has the game. I think Fox had it last year, right? So Danny, right? Danny Parkins, who's on the show on hour number 1. He wasn't on First Things First, but he had his show, The Morning Show, on FS1. I didn't see Danny the entire week because the network that has the broadcast isn't at Radio Row. Like they have their own set somewhere in the city, right? So NBC had their set. They had a set, like Pro Football Talk was doing their stuff, and Chris Sims was there, and Pat Doherty was there, and our friends Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick were there. But for the most part, like NBC had a big set outside in the city of San Francisco, like Fox did, like ESPN will next year. So, yeah, it would have been really cool to see Devin, but obviously Devin's got really good stuff going on with our friends at NBC. He's great. Jason McCourty's great. And I got to be honest, sports are great. I think the show's pretty good, too. On the other side, another fantastic guest joins us, and I'm going to ask ESPN sports betting analyst and ESPN host, my buddy Joe Fortenbaugh, the same question that I've attempted to answer during the show today, and that you, our listeners and viewers, have been tweeting me all show long at the Kostos, TheKostos, in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/@the Kostos. Who's your early pick or bet to win Super Bowl 61? We're talking that and more with ESPN's Joe Fortenbaugh next on Westwood One Sports.
I think Vanderbilt, you got to look at first and foremost. A team that is hitting the skids a little bit right now. They have lost now 4 of their last 7 games. They lost Oklahoma. They were getting absolutely killed in that game. They made almost an incredible historic comeback as the Sooners nearly choked it in the final 2 minutes of the game. But Oklahoma still escaped with a 1-point win, 92-91 inside Memorial Coliseum. You know, Vandy was a feel-good kind of surprise story. Mark Bennington's done an excellent job there. But they're right now number 14 net, nothing, to scoff at there. 6-3 in quarter 1, 5-2 on the road. But they're only number 33 in Barts over the last 30 days. They're 183 EFG offense, a 213 EFG defense. They're a smaller team. They're struggling through some health issues right now. It's going to be a tough road. They got to go at Auburn coming up tomorrow night. So we'll see what version of the Commodores that we get. And BYU is the other team. They lose to Houston, and they lose convincingly by double figures. Credit to Houston, very tough team to play, but BYU is certainly regressed. They're only number 49 in Toric the last 30 days, and even worse defensively. I remember, talking about the ills of the Carolina Tar Heels. Well, BYU's 317 in the country in effective field goal percentage defense over the last 8 days. As good as DeBonce is, Richie Saunders is, Kibaka's got to step up his game in the interior. They're getting crushed inside. They're not getting out and challenging shots effectively outside. BYU looking like a 6 seed, and that might be generous come Selection Sunday. They're trending very much in the wrong direction.
Third and 5. And he's trying to step up. He lost the football. It's free, and Seattle has recovered.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Mike Tirico with the call Sunday night on NBC. A blowout for the Seattle Seahawks. I bet Seattle in the game. Had the under in the game. It was pretty awesome. What will the bets be for tonight? You'll find out at the end of the show. Bunch of college basketball bets, couple NBA bets as well. Here on You Better You Bet, our Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly serving all branches of the armed services, veterans, and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Our members are the mission, and our Defensive Player of the Week is not a player. It is a unit. The dark side. We might as well play the Empire music from Star Wars. The 2025 Seattle Seahawks dominating the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. The Seahawks defense, our Defensive Player of the Week, sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union at NavyFederal.org. Our members are the mission. Joining us right now, been promoting his appearance all show, one of our absolute favorites on You Better You Bet. And how about this? And Joe Fortenbaugh is going to join us in a second. We were joking, Joe, that if we ever change the name of the show, we're going to change the name to Slumming It with Nick Kostos, because you, my friend, go from hosting Get Up this morning on ESPN. Now you're talking to me on national radio, on a national television, on Nesson. Great to have you, my friend, ESPN host and sports betting analyst, the very handsome and well-dressed Joe Fortenbaugh. What's going on, my brother? How are you?
Do not sell yourself short, my friend. You mentioned coming back from the break there, Mike Tirico on the call for the Super Bowl. How about that freaking guy? Calls the Super Bowl, gets on a private jet, flies over to Milan, where he'll anchor the Olympics, and then seemingly afterwards, I'm sure he'd stay for a little vacation. Meanwhile, a slap like you is talking to a slap like me, and we're trying to figure out what's happening in the world of college basketball. A far cry from the top of the heap, my friend.
I will. I did like. So that's why I had ESPN on here on the TVs while I was doing my shows on Sunday morning. I feel like you did it for me. You didn't, but I feel like you did. You wore the purple velvet jacket on Super Bowl Sunday, my friend. That can't have been accidental. That's the number one jacket in the Fortenbaugh collection, right?
Well, it's close. I would have to put 3 of them in front of you and let you make the call, and I think you would end up going purple. But last year, I in New York. My wife and I were going out to dinner, and we went by this department store that had these jackets out. I'm going to spare everyone the details because it's not interesting. But I was getting ready to go down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and I looked at her, and it's like, look, I can't just show up for the Super Bowl and wear the same old stuff I'm always wearing. I got to get something to pop. Like, you and I are WWE guys. We understand the importance of props, of catchphrases, of appearances. So I wanted to go big with the jacket. So I got purple, I got green, and I got a navy blue. Now, the purple one really pops. The people of New Orleans loved it. But the thing is, it was the Super Bowl, and I figured, let's bring it back. The special occasions require a special dress. So that's why I brought it out. I know you're a huge fan. I appreciate you mentioning it.
Absolutely. And I loved having ESPN on my TV this morning and seeing you hosting Get Up. Now, our audience knows this, right? Like my listeners and viewers, they know that I'm a huge sports TV, sports radio geek. And I kind of love like everything that goes into it. And I get a lot of feedback from the audience that they kind of love it as well. Now, when you joined us about a month ago on the show, you were talking about what it was like this summer when you would host First Take, right? And you're sitting there at the desk and there's Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark and Cam Newton. And you're like the producers in your ear saying, like, jump in here, right? I think this is so fascinating, right? Because you're hosting this, a couple hours ago, you're hosting one of the biggest shows in sports on television, right? You're hosting Get Up. Take us through like what that was like, the preparation beforehand. Take us inside the life of Joe Fortenbaugh this morning on ESPN hosting Get Up.
Great question, because I love nerding out about this stuff as well. So thank you for asking. It is a wildly different show than prepping for First Take. First Take, the producers and the people involved are doing a lot of work to put that show together. But from a hosting standpoint, it's basically this. All right, welcome him to the show, set up the question, get the hell out of the way. And that's pretty much it. Like you let RC and Stephen A. and Cam and whoever's on the show, you let them cook. You try to get a shot in or two when you get an opportunity, but for the most part, that show just goes, and you're playing listener, and when you can facilitate and get them out, you get them out. This show, Get Up, is completely different. Get Up moves really fast. If you're really sitting there paying attention to it, there are a lot of different elements. You're going to ask a lot of questions. You're going to stand up and move around the studio during the segments. So you really have to be buttoned up just from an execution standpoint. But it's fun because learning those two shows, learning any shows, it just makes you more diverse in understanding what the role's like when you're on the other side of the table. Like, it's one thing to answer questions all day, but anyone who's answering questions as an analyst should learn how to do the hosting stuff, and the host should learn how to do the analyst stuff so you understand what it's like for the person in the other seat. So generally, when you're working with guys like Jeff Saturday and Dan Graziano and Jason McCourty, they make it easy. But that show moves really fast, so it's always awesome to watch Greeny host it because he's an absolute master at making that thing sing.
I always love, and like, I'll say, you can say it if you want. I'm guessing you agree with me, right? And I'll use like Mike Greenberg and Stephen A. as an example, right? When people will tell me like, oh, like Mike Greenberg, he sucks. Like Joe sucks. Like Stephen A. sucks. It's like, well, like you can like not like their style for whatever the reason, but to imply that these guys are not like first ballot Hall of Fame, 5-star A-level broadcasters is ridiculous, right? And like, this like how good Mike Greenberg is. Dude, you did an awesome job. So a ton of credit to you. And I love seeing you in those roles in addition to doing sports betting analysis for our friends at ESPN. Joe Fortenbaugh is our guest. Nick Kostos, You Bet, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. All right, my friend. I started the show today with the Super Bowl 61 odds board. Talking about the teams at the top, who do I like? And I believe I've settled on, for the moment, for right now, I reserve the right to change my mind, the San Francisco 49ers, who are currently 17-1 at BetMGM. I'm sure that you've given this some thought already, but if I handed Joe Fortenbaugh $100 and said, you got to bet someone, you need to pick someone, you can change your mind as early as tomorrow if you want to, but as of right now, is there a team that stands out to you for Super Bowl 61 and why?
I like where you're at with the Niners. I don't know if they're going to move the power substation or whatever's been causing all those problems, according to all the conspiracy theorists. But the one thing that stands out to me, because I was thinking about them when you and I were talking about doing this hit today. I thought, where do I stand on the Niners? Tough division, great coach team. They always seem to show up offensively. I worry about the health of Christian McCaffrey. Like, dudes that get dinged up, the ones that are known for it, when they have a really healthy season, that's when I start to worry about the next season. Like any season Lamar Jackson makes it all the way through, my immediate concern is, can he do it again the next year? Niners are on the list. The first team that comes out is going to be the Chargers. I know everyone can make their jokes. I know everyone talks about how the Chargers fall flat every single year. I can't really defend that. What I can tell you is this. I've watched Jim Harbaugh win everywhere. Jim Harbaugh is one hell of a coach. He gets the most out of his team. And if he had an offensive line that didn't lose both starting tackles, I have a feeling they would have been far more competitive in that Patriots game and several other games where they struggled. I love Harbaugh's ability to get the most out of the team. I know people are concerned about Herbert. I am not. I think he's going to be good enough when the situation calls for it, and he gets a little bit more help around him. So in the AFC, that's one of the teams that stands out to me. I'm trying to keep myself away from the Lions because they're going to have a great schedule this year, but I always have to remind myself when it gets down to the most important time of the year, if you have money on the Lions, you have money on Jared Goff, and I just don't trust him to handle his business. So I'm not doing anything there. The Rams are the other one that caught my mind. I mean, what do we think? Stafford's coming back. You still have McVay. Secondary was an issue, but there's still a lot to like about that team. So those are the first ones that come to mind. I know the Super Bowl's in L.A. Both L.A. teams jump out. I'm not really sure where I'm at with any long shots at the moment, but those are the first two that came to mind.
Would you like to offer a Joe Fortenbaugh guarantee here that the L.A. Super Bowl will be the L.A. teams, Rams and Chargers, and saying it first here on You Better You Bet?
Right. Nothing like locking in on February 10th, which it's still more than a year away. Like, I don't know if people realize the Super Bowl next year's on February 14th, so we're over a year away from this game. And on top of that, though, here's the plus side. Because it's the 14th and it's President's Day weekend, that means people are off from work. Not us, but a lot of people get off from work on Monday. I'm very interested to see what the NFL does with that because people have been clamoring for the Super Bowl to be a national holiday for quite some time. Once society gets a taste at having a day off the day after the Super Bowl, they're not going back, Nick Kostos. They are not going back.
Have you told your wife yet that that next year's Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day, and if not, when are you planning on breaking that to her?
I haven't mentioned it. She always knows that time of year can be very hectic. Some years, like when I was doing radio, there were years I was at the Super Bowl. Some years for TV, I'm at the Super Bowl. She is well aware, and I think probably the significant other of anyone who works at ESPN is well aware that ESPN has the Super Bowl next year. It has been a very big talking point at the company for a while. We've had a countdown clock up years, maybe even longer. I've only been on campus for a little over 2 years since I came in from Vegas, but we've had a countdown clock up there for a while. So I think everyone's aware that it's like an all-hands-on-deck situation next year. She knows what comes with the territory. The thing that she's not ultra fond of is me trying to sell her. She's the executive director of this dog rescue in Connecticut called Dog Star Rescue. She's all about giving back to the puppies, which is wonderful. She's 10 times the human being I will ever be. But she's got her big gala the weekend of WrestleMania, and me hinting at the fact that I want to go to Vegas for WrestleMania not going well. So that's the problem right now. Not next year's Super Bowl, it's WrestleMania.
My problem is that I've been with so Thursday is the 7th year anniversary that I met my wife. And every single year, she's surprised that there's an NCAA tournament. Like, they're doing this again? Again? Like, yes, honey, It's every single year. I want to ask you about WrestleMania. There's a lot of people, Joe, are a little, and I know ESPN has a relationship with WWE. I certainly understand. I love that, honestly. That a lot of people are a little critical right now of the creative direction. I'm not asking you to slam it at all. I'm very excited for WrestleMania. Got the chance to talk to CM Punk last week on Radio Row, main eventing WrestleMania against Roman Reigns.
I was very, very jealous. Very jealous
cool.
of that.
He was, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I'd never spoken to him before. He has kind of like an ornery reputation. I don't know if it's just because he's older now. He's 47. He could not have been cooler both. So this is a true story, right? And you've interviewed wrestlers, right? So CM Punk goes over to sit down, and we pre-taped it, right? So it was not live. And I said to him before we started the interview, I go, just so you know, I said the full word. I said, I'm an effing mark. Just so he would be prepared, right? That means that, just in case people don't know, that means I'm a huge wrestling fan. He looks me in the eye and goes, that's great. So am I. Why do you think I got into this business? And I'm just like, hell yeah, man. This is going to be awesome. What are your thoughts on the build to WrestleMania right now?
So I'm still coming off. Well, I mean, the Breaker injury news is devastating. That's the way he had been going. Like, he's become one of my favorite guys. So the fact, and I was really interested to see what they were going to be doing with the Vision and how Seth Rollins was going to come back into the mix. And I'm really hoping Rollins' injury is going to be something that's cleared up by Mania time. So there's so much out there that's just hanging in the air right now. My thought is always this. Before I rush to judgment, which I do with everything in my life, just sit back, understand these guys have a plan, understand they're trying to give us the best product possible. I watched Unreal. I loved the show, and they're definitely working to make sure we've got the best possible product. It's not like everyone's sitting on their hands. I came out of the Rumble a little underwhelmed, but that's mostly my own fault because I think I went in with too high expectations. I wanted to see Jericho. I wanted to see Seth Rollins. I was rooting for LA Knight to win. There was a whole lot of stuff going on, and when it doesn't come down, like I'm sitting there disappointed. It's like, well, I really only set myself up for that. So the road to WrestleMania right now, you throw me Punk, you throw me Roman, I'm very excited. I like the storyline right now with Liv. She's dragging this thing out. I want to see where that goes, but I'm most interested in what's going to happen with the Vision and where LA Knight mixes into all of this, because I think that's going to be the key to all of Mania. We see where Rhodes is going. We see where Drew and Fatu are going. If all of that's trending in that direction, okay, that'll work. What's going to happen with the Vision? Because they've done an excellent job of building this thing up. It can't come in as some mid-card, underwhelming thing at the biggest event of the year. Those guys have been cooking for a while. That's what I'm excited about.
And look, like WWE is kind of like NFL in a way where NFL fans can complain and whine and bitch and moan as much as they want. We're all going to be tuned in, and we're all going to love WrestleMania coming up in Las Vegas in a little bit. I'm going to give you a WrestleMania hot take. You tell me if you think this is crazy or not. Are you ready? My prediction, and especially with the Braun Breaker injury now, and we don't know if he's going to be ready for WrestleMania or not, like an actual 4 to 6 week injury for Rick Steiner's son, Braun Breaker. My prediction is the main event of WrestleMania on Sunday night in Las Vegas will end up being a 3-way, like last year on Saturday, with Rollins, Punk, and Reigns, and that's what's going to happen. Joe Fortenbaugh's thoughts on my opinion. Okay. You can tell me I'm crazy if you think so.
No, so I love this, but here's what I got to ask as a follow-up. How do we get to that? How does Rollins weasel his way into that match? Punk is the champ, and Roman earned the shot. I can't see how those two are going to welcome him in. So how do you get him into that match?
Oh, this is
it because he never officially lost the title?
Because he never lost the title because he had to give it up due to injury.
Yeah. Okay, so that can work. That can work. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get any complaints from Joe Fortenbaugh out of that, which meanwhile, now I got to run something by you. This isn't a hot take. I'm not sure if you saw it, so I'm going to need you, when you go to a break at some point, to go back and watch this. I'll try to send it to you, and then I want you to talk to your audience about it if you deem it worthy. Going into Royal Rumble on Get Up, I was a guest that Friday. Harry Douglas was doing That Boy Bad, and he said it ended with
which,
Stone
by the
Cold
way,
Steve
can I
Austin.
just
He
say
wanted
this
to put a
about that boy bad? Can I just say this, Joe, quickly? I want you to continue. I was texting like Ryan Glasspiegel, who works for Front Office Sports, like a sports media critic. I texted him like 2 months ago, and I said, that boy bad is the funniest thing on TV. Not just sports television. So I love that. I just wanted to say that. Please continue with you and Harry Douglas on Get Up the Friday before the Rumble.
No. That's how everyone recognizes him. If you ever talk to Harry, he goes through the airport. That's what everyone yells at him. He's always been yelled, that boy bad. Like, that's become a thing. I don't even think they realize he played NFL football with Roddy White and Julio Jones. Like, they know him from that boy bad. So he's going to end that boy bad on Stone Cold. And he makes a joke as he looks at me. He goes, I'm going to give you a stunner right after. I go, do that. I go, I absolutely do that. I go, let's do it. He goes, really? I go, yes. I go, don't run this by anyone because they're going to shut it down. Everyone's first thought is no. I go, this is the perfect example of ask forgiveness, not permission. Let's just do it. And he goes, okay. I go, one thing. I go, we're not going to have any time to rehearse this. You got to commit. You got to go all the way down because I'm going to, and if you don't, I'm going to break my jaw. So you got to sell it. Are you going to go all the way? And he said, yes. So we went and we did it on air, and I sold the hell out of it, but it freaked out everybody because, like, no one knew it happened. So the control booth was freaking out. I got a text that the guy in the control booth who was running the show was screaming, don't go to commercial until he opens his eyes. We have to show the audience that he's okay. And, like, Peter Schrager was guest hosting for Greeny, and this is never going to be able to happen when Greeny's hosting the show, and Schrager didn't know it was coming, and he had no idea what to do. So everyone was just like floored. They thought I was knocked out, and they didn't know what to do. So I'm going to send you this clip, and I need you to rate the stunner, knowing, A, Harry and I are not professional wrestlers, and B, we did not rehearse it. We only just talked about it for like 45 seconds. I'm going to send it to you after this hit.
Sight unseen, you sold it better than Vince McMahon did and all the times he took the stunner. And just my last thing on this is I interviewed MJF last week, and I said to him, I would love for you to insult me. That's kind of like his gimmick. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to. And I said, also, will you please put me through a table? I don't think wrestling fans understand, like non-wrestling fans understand that wrestling fans, we like want to take bumps. Like, I want to get rock bottom by The Rock. I want to take the Stone Cold. It would be the honor of a lifetime to get Sweet Chin Music by Shawn Michaels. Joe, it's an honor having you on the show. Awesome job on Get Up. You kill it for ESPN. On Twitter at Joe Fortenbaugh. Stay well, and we'll catch up hopefully before the NCAA tournament, my friend.
Love you, buddy. Thanks for having me. I tried to have Hulk Hogan choke me out once, but he said he can't do that because it's become a liability issue, so he could only just do a normal picture. One of the most disappointing moments of my life because I just wanted to get choked out by one of the greatest ever.
Oh, I thought what you were going to say is that doesn't work for me, brother, with Hulk Hogan. Joe is an absolute stud. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. I actually have it here. I'm going to retweet this. So here's the stunner. Hold on. Here we go. I'm watching it. Okay, there's the kick to the gut. Oh, it's actually pretty good. That was actually a pretty good stunner. I'm going to retweet that from Harry Douglas to Joe Fortenbaugh. We'll take a break. On the other side, all the bets for tonight here on a Tuesday on You Better You Bet.
but J.J. McCarthy was like number 35 in adjusted completion percentage. He was woeful. He was garbage. He was an absolute joke when he was on the field with arguably one of the elite and best wide receiver weapons in the game, and Justin Jefferson. You might say, well, it's because he was injured, missed valuable developmental time, yada, yada, yada. He's been injured now 2 straight seasons in some form or fashion. You know, he could just be a Jamarcus Russell type and eventually got to throw in the towel and say, yeah, he bombed. We failed. He never lived up to the hype. And the other question I always have, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Pat, in college, you know, we won a title with Michigan. He didn't throw a whole lot. He was a consummate game manager, whole lot of Blake Corum, whole lot of Michigan defense for that national title team. You wonder if Jim Harbaugh was disguising some of the issues of J.J. McCarthy as a result, not unleashing him, because he knew that if he did, he would run the risk, possible turnover, or, you know, a situation where they would just bog down drives repeatedly. So I want to get your thoughts on that, if there's any credence to that belief. And what are your thoughts about J.J. McCarthy overall? I think right now he could prove me wrong, but he is on a path to colossal bust.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
All right, thank you, Sadolab. Before we quickly wrap up the show with all the bets for tonight, 3 amazing guests. Joe Fortenbaugh, ESPN. Devin McCourty, NBC. Danny Parkins, Fox Sports 1. Thanks to our crew, Bill Zimmerman, Tyler Morales, Kenny Henderson, Downtown Mike Brown, and Dan the Man Turner. Our show sponsor is BetMGM, and we want everybody to use today's Any Sport No Sweat token on your favorite sport. If your bet isn't a winner, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. So swing, pass, or shoot, it's your choice. Enjoy action without the sweat. Download the BetMGM app today, make it legendary, and please gamble responsibly. All right, so Kenny's got 3 bets for tonight. Kenny likes Miami as a short home dog against North Carolina. Carolina obviously beat Duke this weekend on a buzzer beater. Miami's 18-5. Miami's pretty good. I kind of want to bet Miami. I think North Carolina with Caleb Wilson. I like North Carolina a lot. I don't think I can bet Miami. I think I have to pass that game. Kenny is betting Purdue against Nebraska and Wisconsin plus the points at Illinois plus 10.5. Tyler is laying it BYU minus 3.5 at Baylor, and Tyler has the over in Illinois and Wisconsin. 2 bets at least. Maybe 2 bets in the NBA. I'm laying the Knicks against the Pacers tonight. Knicks minus 11.5. Indiana's tanking. Rick Carlisle, they're not playing Ivica Zubac until after the All-Star break. They are tanking. The Knicks are going to win that game by 20. Give me the Knicks, and I may bet the Clippers plus the points. I probably will. Let's make sure Kawhi is playing, and I'll likely take the Clippers at the Rockets. College basketball bets for yours truly. I love Purdue to win at Nebraska. It's time for Braden Smith and the Boilermakers to really grab this season by the you-know-what. I think Purdue goes into Omaha, into Nebraska, and Purdue gets a big win. Make it 3 Boilermakers. Give me Purdue to win in Nebraska. I will also ride with Tyler. Give me BYU. BYU minus 3.5 on the road at Baylor. I absolutely love that bet. And look, I had a good night last night. 2-1. Super Bowl 60 was pretty good. I'll toss a couple bucks. Oh, man. I'm not gonna bet Carolina, Miami. Purdue, BYU, the Knicks for sure for me tonight. We'll catch everybody tomorrow on a wonderful Football Wednesday. Greg Rosenthal of NFL Media will join us. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Black and Abdallah coming up next. Westwood One Sports.
Yeah, let's start with Carolina. I can move them up to the highest number 5 seed on the big board. You might say that's it. They're not number 4. They're not number 3 seed. No, they don't have the overall resume yet to get quite there. Number 24, the net. None of the scoff at there. And again, that is more of a sorting tool, not a be-all, end-all as an individual measurement. They played a borderline top 50 overall strength of schedule, though number 91 in non-conference strength of schedule. 5-4 on the road. Okay, not terrible. 3-3 in quarter 1. Not terrible, but also not great. The biggest issue for Carolina, and, kudos to them, massive win at home. Dean Dome was rocking, stormed the courts, Trimble's 3 at the buzzer, up and good. First time you had a buzzer beater in that series in like 2 decades. Just tremendous, to watch that must-see TV moment, to say the least. But, they're excellent offensively. They stink right now defensively. And they did clamp down late in that game, but they're number 262 in EFGD over the last 30 days. They have got to tighten up in that capacity, or it could be an early exit in the NCAA tournament, no matter where they land, whether it's on the 5 line or a little bit higher, but still a winner for the weekend. And Florida, too. Florida had arguably the most impressive win on the road against a Texas A&M team. I got projected as the number 7 seed right now. One that was really playing white-hot basketball there in the SEC, a major surprise. Florida goes in and just clobbers them. They win by 20. They've been number 2 team in Bar Torvik and overall effectiveness here last 30 days. They're a team that has the best front court in the country, in Chindilu and Condon and Thomas Hawk. They're getting better guard play now from Boogie Flan. Your boy fired off on a ticket over the weekend for Florida to win the national title at 16-1. That's how I'm impressed with this Florida Gators team. They have a chance to repeat. So Florida right now on the 3 seed line, teetering on the 4 seed line. And I think they're going to wind up come Selection Sunday, maybe as high as a number 2 seed. I think ultimately they're going to be a number 3. And man, you do not want to draw them. If they are on the 3 line and you're a 1 or a 2 in that region, watch out. The Gators could be chopping down once again and reaching the mecca of college basketball in the Final Four this year at Indy.